let's take a look back at my Four Corners-based Pokemon region, Cornera. Hey everyone, Brandon here. With our new Fakemon region, Devar, starting next month, I wanted to take a look back at Cornera with a mostly unedited marathon of the entire series. If you love Cornera and are excited for the Devar region, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help support this channel and keep up to date with future Fakemon videos. Without further ado, the entire Cornera series.
Hey guys, Brandon here. So as some of you may know, I run a little account over on Instagram known as @MagicDex, or the Cornera region. This is a Fakemon region I've been working on with some incredible artists for the past few months. Pretty much all of what you see in this video is done by them. They will all be credited in the description, so make sure to go check them out. So here is the Cornera region. It is based on the Four Corners area of the US, which is the group of states Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah. It is kind of a hodgepodge of all four states with Colorado as a base because I, live there. It's got Fakemon, regional variants, fossils, a new gimmick, new characters, new lore, new forms. Oh my gosh, it's just so exciting! Sorry, I'm just so in love with this project and it really has brought out a new kind of creativity in me I didn't even know existed before. Anyway, we will save most of the exciting things for later, and for now we will begin where every region begins, with the starter Pokemon. Before we get started though, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. This series will be continuing to explore all of the Cornera region, so make sure you don't miss it. Let's begin with the Pokemon that is first in every Pokédex, the Grass Starter. Every Grass Starter has one thing in common. They are based on some sort of dinosaur or extinct megafauna. So I decided to go with an animal found roaming in the Rocky Mountains, who has an epic prehistoric ancestor, the elk. And without further ado, I present for your viewing pleasure, Cactus! Look at him! Look at his cute little cactus antlers! Ah! So cute! So all gushing aside, Cactus is based on the Megaloceros, or the Irish elk, which is an ancestor of animals like the moose, reindeer, and of course, the elk. It is based particularly on a Rocky Mountain elk calf. It also loves to cuddle, which brings me to its most distinguishing feature, its horns! They are based on the Opuntia genus of cactus, or more commonly known as the prickly pear cactus. Though the horns don't look 100% like a prickly pear cactus right now, it will show in its later stages. Definitely watch out if you plan to snuggle with Cactus. If it wasn't obvious enough, the name comes from calf, as in a baby elk, and cactus. Next we move on to the Fire Starter. Fire Starters have thus far been based on animals of the Chinese zodiac. With 8 out of the 12 animals taken, the only options I had left were the horse, ox, snake, or sheep. While there are plenty of snakes in the Four Corners region, given, a lot of it is desert, I decided to go with the sheep, specifically the state animal of Colorado and the mascot of Colorado State University, the bighorn sheep, aka the ram. So here is Flambabe. This design is a bit more simple, but it gets the point across, a little lamb with fiery elements. Its name is based on flambe, which means flamed in French, which is also a cooking technique, and it's mixed with babe or baby. Last but not least, we have the Water Starter. Each Water Starter has 2 recurring themes, semi-aquatic animals and weapons. The weapons part won't really be present until the final stage, but the semi-aquatic mammal I chose was the mink. So here is Marink. This pondering little fellow is based on the American mink, a semi-aquatic mammal which can be found in the Rocky Mountains near still water. So there's kind of been a pattern going on with Water Starters since Gen 5 of mammal, reptile, or amphibian. Mammal, reptile, or amphibian. So I decided to keep the trend going. Its name is based on marine and mink. What is it thinking about? All 3 starters have contact or move-based abilities. Flambabe has Flame Body, Marink has Storm Drain, and Cactus has a new ability called Prickly, which is essentially like Rough Skin, but the opponent is left with prickly needles that do damage for 3 turns. Somebody break out the My Chemical Romance, it's time for the moody teenage phase. Let's evolve them! I present to you Buctus, Capragma, and Goularine. With Buctus, its horns have grown a bit bigger and more prickly pear-like. It also is based on an adult elk. Buctus are very proud of their horns, and whichever one has the biggest and strongest horns is considered superior. No, not superior, superior. Its name is based on buck, an adult male elk, and cactus. Duh. Next is Capragma. Its once fire-esque tail has now become a full-blown flame, and its horns have become red hot. These guys will butt heads with their friends and rivals to tell who's the strongest, much like rams do to show status. Its name is based on Caprinae, the subfamily of the bighorn sheep, and Magma. But also, I kind of stuck my username in there with the PragMagik, you get it. Next up is Ghoularine. This grumpy looking guy has now taken on features of other mustelids, such as the Wolverine, which is also where its name comes from. Gulo is both the genus and species of the Wolverine. Its name is a mixture of Gulo, Marine, and Wolverine. So here we are at the final stages of the starters. But before I introduce them, I have to give the cliff notes of the gimmick of the region. These are known as nuclear types. They attach to a Pokemon's DNA and have a variety of effects which I'll explain later, but one of them is evolving Pokemon. That is an extremely shortened version. There will be a video coming up soon where I explain them all. One thing to note is the abilities of these final stages. They are a little OP, but I kind of just had fun with these guys and didn't put too much thought into the absolute havoc that they would cause in the actual games. Anyway, without further ado, here are the final evolutions of your starters. Meet Serafloria, Ovasuvius, and Panthagon. Serafloria is now a grass fairy type, and its ability has changed into another new ability, Flower Cloak, which prevents it from being poisoned and makes poison-type moves neutral. Its name comes from Megaloceros and Flora. Now its design more so reflects the Megaloceros, and I wanted it to feel very elegant and a little snooty. Like, I'm too good for you. I mean, just look at my beautiful horns. Ovasuvius is now Fire Electric. It is based on this crazy natural phenomenon known as volcanic lightning. I mean, this stuff is absolutely wild looking, and I wanted that same feeling to reflect in Ovasuvius' design. Definitely expect it to know moves like Wild Charge. Its ability has also changed into a new ability called Igneous, which adds rock-type resistances. Its name is based on Ovis, the genus of sheep, and Vesuvius, the famous volcano that erupted and destroyed the city of Pompeii. Though, I don't think Ovasuvius will go around destroying a whole city like that. Hopefully. Finally, we have Panthagon, which is one of the biggest transformations by far. As you can tell, it is now a water dragon type, and it is based on the mythical Mishipeshu, or underwater panther, of the, and excuse me if I butcher this, Anishinaabe people of the Great Lakes area. It was/is an aquatic, panther and dragon-like being who lurked in the waters of the Great Lakes. And as I said, it is based on a weapon. Its tail is based on a whip. It actually uses its tail as one. Gives a whole new meaning to the move Tail Whip. It also has a new ability called Storm Eye, which raises special attack when hit by a water, electric, or flying type move. Its name comes from Panther, Pa'ahu, which means spring water in Hopi, and Dragon. So those are your starters in the Cornera region. Let me know what you think of them and which one you would pick in the comments down below. And once again, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to go follow the Cornera region Instagram account. There is a good portion of the mons of the region posted there, so make sure to check it out. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Hey everyone, Brandon here once again with some more to share of the Cornera region. You guys seem to really enjoy the last video, so thank you all so much for the support, and we will keep this Cornera train moving. As you can see from the title, we are talking about the Route 1 Pokemon of the region. But what exactly classifies as a Route 1 Pokemon? They are Pokemon that are found in Route 1, obviously. Though a much less general explanation would be that each region has a few select kinds of Pokemon that are in almost every region's first route, such as a Pokemon based on a rodent or rodent-like animal, a bug, a bird, and a canine of some sort. Many feel these to be boring Pokemon with plain designs, since they are mostly normal type, but each of these Pokemon is a fundamental part of any early game team, and some last until the end game. Mostly just the dogs and birds though. But let's go ahead and begin with the rodent. Like I said before, people often consider these to be kind of bland Pokemon, so I wanted to spice things up a little bit. So I added a little heat. Literally. Okay, it's part fire type. So here is Mouseblode and Pyrat. They're both based on kangaroo rats and dynamite, but Pyrat is also based on pyrite, or its more common name, fool's gold. These two are actually based on the historical use of mice and rats instead of canaries to explore coal mines in Colorado. The miners actually had close relationships with these rodents, and you could say they even treated them like Pokemon in a way. Pyrite is specifically based on the Colorado Gold Rush that took place around 1858 to 1861. Pyrite are used to distinguish real gold from fool's gold, as they love to eat fool's gold to help them file their teeth, since gold is softer than pyrite. Their names are based on mouse and explode, as well as pyrite and rat, but it also sounds like pirate, who subsequently love gold. So next up is the bug Pokemon. A lot of people just don't like bug types. There are a spare few that are just amazing like Scizor, Volcarona, or Heracross, but the Route 1 bugs don't get much love. I wanted to make some cool bug Pokemon, but I had two ideas in my head that I couldn't choose between, so I went all Butterfree Beedrill on it and did 2 lines. So here they are. Let's start with the cute line. This is Cuddlepillar, Snugloon, and Adoropia. This adorable line is inspired by all the stages of the Cecropia moth and love! With this line I was actually inspired by my old hometown of Loveland, Colorado. They really lean into the whole love part of the name and have hearts everywhere. Speaking of love, the idea originally came from my wife's love of moths. I wanted my bug Pokemon to be a cute moth I could show her and she could adore. Their names come from Cuddle and Caterpillar, Snuggle and Cocoon, and Adore and Cecropia. Now for the emo bug line. This is Obeetle, Clocoon, and Umbrosp. These guys are inspired by oil beetles, tarantula hawk wasps, emo kids, and Vincent from Final Fantasy VII. Their names are based on different kinds of clothing or covering. An obi, which is a sash worn around the waist of a kimono, a cloak, which is, do I really have to explain that one? And umbra, which means shadow, but also is a kind of cloak or shawl. And also there's umbrella, which also provides shade. For this line, I really wanted to make an amazing bug dark type, since the combination doesn't exist yet in the games. And I just thought of the idea of a wasp who had a cloak for wings, and the idea just went on from there. Next up are the birds. My personal favorite Route 1 birds are Talonflame and Corviknight, because they branch outside of the norm, literally, with their typings. I wanted to do something like that with my line. So here are Peplark, Twilark, and Larkclips. So they are based on the state bird of Colorado, the lark bunting, with some elements of Phainopepla, hawks, and eagles later down the line. Their names are a mixture of lark with Peppy/Phainopepla, Twilight, and Eclipse. I went with a night theme because the lark bunting have this pattern on their wing that reminds me of Crescent Moon, so I just rolled with that. The dark typing is because, you know, it's dark at night. I made Peplark pure flying like Rookidee, because I always thought the addition of normal type on the birds was pointless. Last but not least are the doggos! So when trying to think of a dog that would fit this region, I wanted to start with a breed of dog commonly found in the Four Corners region. And in my experience in Colorado, there are so many Huskies! So here are Frusky and Fenrir. Their names are based on Frisky and Husky, and Fenrir, the wolf god of Norse mythology, and Glacier. I decided to have Frusky evolve into more of a wolf because just last year, Colorado voted to have wolves reintroduced into the state. Also, Huskies are commonly bred with wolves, so people can kinda have wolves as pets. I made Frusky ice normal because I just feel normal types have this fun energy about them, and so does Frusky. Also, ice normal type doesn't exist yet in the games. Fenrir is ice ghost because of the inspiration of Fenrir, and also Jon Snow's direwolf, Ghost. So those are the Route 1 Mons. What do you think? Which Mons would you put on your team? Let me know in the comments below. And once again, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And make sure to hit that notification bell to keep up to date with all the different things happening on the channel. And I will see you guys next time. Hey everyone, Brandon here once again with some more stuff to share from Cornera. Today's video will be covering one of my favorite aspects of the modern Pokemon games, regional variants. I love the concept of regional variants a lot, so there are a lot of them in Cornera. Out of the 142 Mons in Cornera, there are about 48 regional variants and regional evolutions. Yeah, I kinda went a little overboard. But I have some awesome regional variant lines to show, so let's just jump into it. But before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Also, don't forget to go give your support to the artists who make the Cornera region possible. They will all be linked in the description down below. There is this trend in the games, and especially in the Fakemon community, of having a Meowth variant, so of course I followed suit. So, here is Corneran Meowth. It is based on Bobcats, aka Red Lynxes. I decided to make it Rock type to follow the trend of Meowth variants being weak to Fighting type. Instead of a coin, I gave it this obsidian-looking rock. You can see how strong and battle-hardened a Meowth is by how damaged the rock is. Now let's evolve it. This is Persheen. Haha, get it? Persheen? Persian? Yeah, anyway. Its name is based on per and sheen, which is the reflectiveness of a mineral. The mon itself is inspired by a mix of bobcats and mountain lions. Its gem is now ingrained into its body and has fused with its claws. It can cut through solid steel. Oh, you thought we were done with the Meowth line. Wrong. Let's evolve it again. Meet Perstrike. Yes, I am crazy enough to give Meowth a third stage. About as crazy as Perstrike looks. This guy is rock and fighting, and its name comes from per and strike, as in to strike someone, but also as in the strike of a rock, which is the orientation of a horizontal line across the slope of a rock feature. It is based on bobcats, mountain lions, and also saber-toothed tigers. It is a wild and fierce fighter, and if provoked it will not stop fighting unless it has won or can't move. Next up is yet another trend from the Fakemon community. So since the addition of Galarian Yamask and Runerigus, those in the Fakemon community have been coming up with ideas for what Yamask with other types added would look like. So here is my entry to the trend. Here is Corneran Yamask. It is based on haunted mines, and it has a pickaxe for its tail. Who likes creepy Dex entries? I do! It is said that Corneran Yamask is the ghost of children whose parents worked in the mine. They got lost while trying to help their parents, and now their spirit possesses the very pickaxe they were using to help. But that is honestly just an old wives' tale to scare miners' children into not wandering off. Anyway, let's evolve it. Meet Minerigus. This guy is based on different kinds of mining and excavation equipment, and haunted mines. They actually try to help the miners explore the mines, but actually just end up making most of the miners too scared to work. The poor dude just wants to help. Okay, are you ready to just die from cuteness? Prepare yourself, because here's Corneran Dedenne. What? Regional variant of a Pika clone? You bet. I know it is probably something Game Freak wouldn't really do, but the idea just worked really well, and look how cute it is! This little guy is Ice Fairy, and is based on the Colorado Pika and snowflakes. Okay, so we all agree, we love Corneran Dedenne, right? But what if it evolved? Meet Dependre. Yeah, okay, I went even wilder with it. Its name is based on Dependable, Dendrite, and Dedenne. It is based on hikers, which Colorado has a lot of. Dependre helps hikers who are lost find their way back to the trails and serve as assistants to hiking guides. What would a region based on the Midwest be without a cowboy Pokemon? I present to you cowpokes, Corneran Farfetch'd. This Farfetch'd is pure fire type, and it's lost its ability to fly. Instead, it uses its fiery wings to shoot small embers at incredible speeds. With its new fire abilities, it doesn't really use its leek anymore, so it keeps it in its mouth as a form of comfort, and to keep it from getting burned. Now, let's evolve it. Meet Spurfetch'd. Farfetch'd has evolved into more of an outlaw. It is inspired by Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It is now fire dark type and has found a way to use its leek to channel its embers to give it way more precision and speed. Its name is based on spurs and Surfetch'd. Last but not least is Corneran Timpole, Palpitoad, and Seismitoad. These guys are poison fairy type, like Galarian Weezing. They are based on the Sonoran Desert Toad, also known as the Colorado River Toad. The Sonoran Desert Toad can secrete a toxin that when vaporized and inhaled can produce a strong psychedelic effect, such as euphoria, warm sensations, and audio hallucinations. So yeah, people use this toad to get high. The Seismitoad line's poison also has pleasant effects, but it is used to lull foes into relaxation to easily defeat them, or to help run away. Oh, also, Palpitoad and Seismitoad are now the good vibration Pokemon. So what do you think of these regional variants from Cornera? Which one was your favorite? Like I said, there are a lot more regional variants to cover, so if you want to see another regional variant video, make sure to like this video and leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future entries in the Cornera series. With that, I will see you guys next time. In each of the past few generations of Pokemon, a new battle mechanic or gimmick has been introduced, i.e. Megas, Z-moves, and Dynamax. So, I thought I would continue that pattern with the Fakemon region I have been working on for the last 6 months, the Cornera region. In the last few videos we have covered the starters, where I briefly explain the gimmick, Route 1 mons, and regional variants, so if you missed them, go check them out. The playlist is in the description down below. Oh, And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with this series. With all that out of the way, it's gimmick time. I'll begin with how I came up with the concept for this gimmick. So, in the very early stages of planning this region, I had a few things I wanted to implement. First, I wanted to give Pokemon certain typings that I, as well as many other fans of the franchise, thought they should have had based on their design or general concept. Drayano60, the creator of many ROM hacks such as Volt White and Blaze Black, did this very thing in those games, and I loved it. But I wanted it to make sense mechanic-wise. Second, I wanted there to be some sort of new forms like Megas or Gigantamax. Because if this was going to be an Instagram region, it should have something visual that could be put into a post, not something theoretical like a new battle style or something. Lastly, I wanted to introduce a new type that I believe should have been in the games: Sound type. The games have a lot of mons and moves that are sound-based that could benefit from a new typing like that. So, how would I go about connecting these three things? Well, here is what I came up with. This is a Nucleotype and a Deanaxis. Crystals with a mysterious radiant energy that may or may not be connected to the legendary Pokemon of the region have been found all over Cornera. Through the Deanaxis, you can harness that energy and create Nucleotypes. Okay, so we know what a Nucleotype is, but what does it do? Once a Nucleotype is given to certain Pokemon, it acts like an evolutionary stone. It binds with the part of their DNA that gives them their type, and adds a new type, or replaces an old one. A Nucleotype can also be given to a Fossilmon to give them back their original typings, which is actually how Nucleotypes were discovered in Cornera, but I will save that for a future video. Thanks to the Nucleotypes binding to the Pokemon's DNA, some Pokemon can also achieve new forms, or even evolve. Allow me to introduce to you Genos forms. This is Genos Golduck and Genos Audino. Genos Golduck is now Water Psychic and is based on the Horned Greb and Wise Elders, but the kind that could still kick your ass like Master Roshi or Netero. Its amplified psychic power rivals that of Alakazam or even Mewtwo. Genos Audino is now Sound Fairy type and is based on pop stars, Japanese idols, and orchestra conductors. Its once small feelers on its ears have now grown larger, and so too has its abilities. It can now hear things from miles away, and can use its feelers to absorb sound, amplify it, and project it back through its voice at opponents. Now, for some evolutions caused by Nucleotypes, or Nucleo Evos for short. Meet Dragarif and Granbrawl. Dragarif is a Dragon Fairy type evolution to Dragonair. I always felt that Dratini and Dragonair should have been Dragon Fairy, and fans have always complained about how jarring the evolution from Dragonair to Dragonite is, so this is a way of remedying that. Dragarif is based on angels, the caduceus, and the way Dragonair's wings are shown in the anime when they fly. Its name is based on dragon and seraph. It is said that if you see a Dragarif flying overhead, you will live a prosperous life. Granbrawl is a fairy fighting type evolution to Granbull. Granbull always gave off this scrappy, ready-to-fight energy, and its stats left room for an evolution, so I went for it. When Granbull starts running, it is almost impossible to stop it, and has the power to overwhelm a charging Balfalant. Granbrawl is based on bulldogs and football players, because the two are usually related. Go Bulldogs! So, I know this gimmick can be a little confusing, because honestly, I made it a little more complex than it probably should have been. Hindsight is 20/20, I guess. But if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below and I will try to answer as many as I can. Anyway, that's all for today. So once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video about the Cornera region. And don't forget to go support the incredible artists that make this all possible. They will all be linked in the description down below. With that, I will see you guys next time. So there are a few other staple mon that are common across the games that I didn't cover in my Route 1 mons video, such as a regional fish, turtle, fossils, etc. So let's cover them now! Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, if you are so inclined, you can become a member so you can show some extra support to the channel and get some awesome perks. One more thing I need to clarify before we begin. In our last Cornera video on the gimmick of the region, I introduced the sound type, but neglected to show its type effectiveness, so here's that. Also, Genos forms are a permanent change. I assumed that would be clear considering nucleotypes bond with the Pokemon's DNA, but I guess it wasn't. Anyway, let's talk Fakemon, shall we? Who likes fish? I do! In another attempt to have a unique Pokemon, I was inspired to make a water-fire type fish Pokemon based on the sunfish. No, not that sunfish, this one! The orange spotted sunfish. These little spots reminded me of little suns. Sunspots, if you will. So without further ado, here is Paisun. Its name is a mixture of Piscine/Pisces and sun. You can see now it has literal sunspots on its side. So I will warn you, this evolution is a little out there. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Here is Amaterishu. Wait, hold the presses. A Japanese-inspired mon in a US-based region, that doesn't make any sock throw Darumaka Dominaten Munamasharda and Hydreigon. Anyway, I think you get my point. These fish both have these markings on their face that reminded me of Kumadori, which is the stage makeup kabuki performers use. The sides of the green sunfish also reminded me of rays of sunlight. So I figured it's a sunfish, so why not go with themes from the land of the rising sun? It even has a literal sunrise as its dorsal fin. It is said that Amaterishu will lead schools of Paisun around Cornera, and everywhere they decide to rest becomes a hot spring for the day. Their true home is in Vulcan Springs though. So while I was still creating the region, a follower pointed out to me that apparently a regional turtle is a thing. So I made one. Here is Tortoise. This little ground type is based on the ornate box turtle and adobe houses, which you can find all over the Four Corners area. Its shell acts as a home for smaller Pokemon who are worn out from traveling. Tortoise evolves into Tortoise. This guy is huge. Its back can actually carry human passengers, and has helped travelers who have lost their way in the desert. Turtle taxi, anyone? It is now groundwater type, and its back is based on adobe fortresses and castles. Next up is the ever infamous Pika clone. So let's get right into it. This is Denkibi. Its name is a mixture of Denki, which means electricity, and Chibi, meaning small. It is electric sound type and is based on field mice and speakers. So I decided to do something that some might find controversial. I gave my Pika clone an evolution. I know, it breaks the formula, but I always found the lack of evolutions for Pika clones to be dumb. If more of them had evolutions, they would actually be useful. With that said, here is Denkirai. It is a mixture of Denki and Rai, meaning thunder. But also, Kirai means hate, which I found funny because this thing is so cute, to have hate in its name just seems ironic. It now has a speaker on its tail as well, and uses it to amplify sound moves. Next we have a trend that is apparently also a thing, the Grass Fairy Psychic Waifu. There have been a few in past generations like Serena, Hatterene, Florges, and Gardevoir. So, I actually made two, but for a good reason. Meet Cherbloom and Cherdoom. These are nucleotype evolutions of Cherim, depending if you give Cherim a nucleotype during the day or at night. They are based on kimonos and the Japanese words for cute and scary. So Cherbloom represents kawaii, meaning cute, and is based on the use of kimonos in kawaii culture. Cherdoom represents kawaii, meaning scary, and is based on a more traditional kimono usage. Finally, the fossils. Almost every region has them. Looking at you, Gen 2 and 7. You love them, and so do I, so let's show them. Here are the wood fossil and the flute fossil, and when you revive them, they become Petrunk and Pickling. So like I said in the last video, nucleotypes can give fossils back their original typings. So in Cornera, when reviving the fossil, it will be revived with its original typing. With that being said, Petrunk is pure grass type, and Pickling is pure sound type. Petrunk is based on petrified wood and Ankylosaurus, and Pickling is based on woodwind instruments and a baby Sonorosaurus. So now for their evolutions. Meet Petrodon and Basaurus. Petrodon is now grass steel type and is now also part Stegosaurus. It uses its sharp plates on its back to ward off enemies from above. Basaurus remains pure sound type. It can create music from its body that it uses to lead herds of Pickling. One more thing. There is actually a third fossil, but it's not ready yet, so I will save it for a future video. Anyway, that's the rest of the staple Pokemon. What do you think, and which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with the Cornera region. And be sure to go follow all of the artists that make Cornera possible. They will be linked in the description down below. With that, I will see you guys next time. There are some type combinations Game Freak hasn't made Pokemon for, so let's make some. As always, before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you can, become a member. You can get some awesome perks and it really helps the channel. So there are about 17 type combos that no Pokemon has as of making this video. With Cornera, I didn't want to force a bunch of new type combos into the region if they didn't fit properly. So I actually only used 14 type combos to make new mons or regional variants with. We have already shown off 2 with the Obeetle and Frosky lines, and I will only be showing off 6 new type combos for this video. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the rest. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting us off is the normal bug type. About halfway through developing the Cornera region, I realized that I didn't have nearly enough bug types. So, I did some research of bugs native to the Four Corners region and came upon this guy, the Calligraphy Beetle. Its back kind of reminds me of a Rorschach test, but then I thought it would be cool if it was multicolored. That thought process led me into thinking, what if the colors were paints? So, I mixed all these ideas and we have Paleedle. It is a mixture of a paint palette and a Calligraphy Beetle, and it just works so well. The paints on its back are actually created from different berries it eats, which leads me to the next part of this mon. It's actually a gimmick mon. It can change its typing based on what berry it eats in battle, and has a signature move, Spray Paint, which changes the type of the move depending on its current type. Paleedle also has a special relationship with a certain Pokemon, but I will save that for another time. Next up is Normal Steel. This one was a little less complex when coming up with the concept for the mon. I wanted a Coati Pokemon, since they can live in parts of New Mexico and Arizona, and I came up with a name, Securati. Get it? Anyway, the concept just bloomed from there. Coatis are in the same family as raccoons, so I decided to make it an evolution of a Zigzagoon variant. So anyway, here it is, Corneran Zigzagoon, Securati, and Coatitan. Corneran Zigzagoon and Securati are both normal steel, but when evolving to Coatitan, it becomes fighting steel. This also acts as the fur bait Lucario Zoroarkmon of the region. Now for normal ghost. Rather than doing just a bedsheet ghost, let's go with something a bit more complex. At first I thought of maybe doing some kind of possessed furniture or wall hanging, you know? Something normal becoming a ghost. And what kind of furniture or decoration is very American? How about trophy hunting? Most trophy hunting is done in America. My sister-in-law even collects trophy and other taxidermy animals, which led me to this idea. How about a spirit of a trophy kill that comes back and possesses the trophy? With that said, here is Wofi! It's one of those cute mons with a tragic backstory. Oh, and it evolves. Here is Rugrath. It's a haunted bearskin rug. It haunts those that hunt Pokemon and will defend a Pokemon if it's targeted by a hunter. Continuing on, I can't think of a better type combination than Fighting Fairy for a Jackalope Pokemon. So, here is Jacobit. It's a rowdy little jackalope that likes to play and fight. I know, its name is a bit strange considering Jackalope was already a mixture of Jackrabbit and Antelope, but Jacobit is actually a part of an evolutionary trio. Here is Dwarf, Harlequer, and Iglop. Dwarf is kind of an Eevee clone, but each evolution is dual typed. Dwarf is normal type and based on Netherland dwarf rabbits. Harlequer is psychic dark type and is based on Harlequin rabbits and actual Harlequins. And Iglop is an ice steel type based on the Florida white rabbit, Arctic rabbits, and igloos. For Fire Fairy, I thought since camping is a huge thing in the Rockies, what would fit well was a Pokemon based on a marshmallow that was roasted over a campfire. Then my mind drifted to Swirlix, who was already based on a sugary treat, and the concepts just merged so well together, so meet Corneran Swirlix. It is adapted to living near the local volcano, Dawn Point, and its fur has become more gooey and singed from the heat. It even has a new ability, Roast, which raises its defense and special defense by 1 stage if hit by a fire-type move. Oh, and of course it evolves. So here is Corneran Slurpuff. It's a s'more! It can use its graham cracker-like barriers to protect itself from oncoming attacks. Last but not least, we have Ground Fighting type. I actually have 2 Ground Fighting types in Cornera, so I will explain them one at a time. First, I had a thought for an Ibex Pokemon. This animal is actually imported to Arizona and New Mexico and is hunted a lot. It was actually really hard to find an image of one alive in the US, which I found kind of sad. So I made a baby Ibex Pokemon that can't defend itself, but then evolves into an Ibex that has learned to kick ass. So, meet Babex and Jabex. Jabex's fighting type is inspired by the patterns Ibexes have in their fur, which reminded me of a gi, and the martial art of Jeet Kune Do, which was created by Bruce Lee. Oh, and when their species names are put together, it makes the Comeback Kid. And for the others, I found this amazing piece of history to inspire it. There was once this experiment by the US Army from 1856 to 1866 called the US Camel Corps, in which they used camels in New Mexico to carry cargo because of their amazing endurance. So why not make a ground-fighting camel soldier? Well, we already have a camel Pokemon with Numel, so why not just make a regional variant and a regional evolution? So here is Cornera Numel and Camelicia. As you can see, they both have little army hats. And Camelicia has a reference to the mural of the Camel Corps on its back. These two are tough and reliable fighters that can withstand the harsh sandstorms of the Suncrest Canyon. So there's a few of the new type combos of Cornera. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And become a member if you would like to help support the channel. With that, I will see you guys next time. You guys asked and you shall receive more regional variants. Before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also become a member if you want to show some extra support. So, you guys really liked the first regional variants video. It was actually the catalyst for a huge growth spike on this channel. So thank you to everyone who watched, liked, commented, and subscribed on that video. And make sure to check it out if you missed it. Today, we are going to take a look at some more regional variants of the Cornera region. So let's begin. Starting us off is Corneran Drifblim. Based on the fact that Colorado Springs, Colorado, Park City, Utah, and Albuquerque, New Mexico are huge spots for hot air balloons. The world's largest hot air balloon festival actually takes place in Albuquerque. So I wanted a Drifblim that reflected that love of hot air balloons. And this guy is only a little smaller than an actual hot air balloon. The reason it grew to this size and became fairy flying is because of the love this Pokemon has received in Cornera. It is literally so filled with love it has become enormous. Also, here is Corneran Drifloon. It is still bigger than normal Drifloon, but quite a bit smaller than Corneran Drifblim. It is based on balloons at carnivals and town fairs, and it is said to bring great joy to the children of Cornera, as opposed to its kidnapping Sinnohan counterpart. Next up, we have Corneran Teddiursa. It is now pure dark type, and it is of course based on black bear cubs. I turned the moon symbol on its head sideways to make the dark type symbol from the Pokemon TCG. When it evolves into Corneran Ursaring, it gains the grass typing. This grass typing is a reference to the Native American shamanic belief of bear medicine. It is believed that this bear medicine has the power to restore harmony and balance. And so I took that in a literal direction and gave it the leaves on its neck, arms, feet, and tail that it can shed and then can be used to make powerful healing medicines. Also, I changed the ring on its stomach to the dark type symbol, like I did with Teddiursa. As you can see, they both love to dance, which is a reference to Native American grass dances, which to some southern tribes represents victory in battle, and in some northern tribes represents a blessing ceremony for new ground, grass swaying in the wind, and the circle of life. Next up is just kind of a fun regional evolution idea inspired by Gila monsters. Meet Salava, a male-exclusive regional evolution to Salandit. A fire poison typing just fits a Gila monster so well, since it has a venomous bite and lives in the desert, and the concepts just mix together seamlessly. Next up is one of my favorite Fakemon lines I have ever created. Meet Corneran Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye. Before I explain them, I have to address something real quick. I couldn't quite make the other two starters fit in Cornera as far as regional variants. A tiger and a seal are things not really found in the Midwestern United States, and trying to make concepts fit onto them just wasn't working. So the Rowlet line is the only one who got a regional variant of the starters. Anyway, let's start with Corneran Rowlet and Dartrix. They are now ground flying type and are inspired by burrowing owls, which burrow little dens in the desert to live in instead of in the trees. The feathers on their head are also inspired by Native American headdress, specifically those seen worn by the famous Sitting Bull. They are also inspired by Native American archers. Lastly, we have one of my absolute favorite Fakemon I have created, Corneran Decidueye. It is now ground fairy type. It has gained the additional inspirations of Native American chiefs, their war bonnets, and the Kachina figures of the Hopi tribe. I gave it the fairy typing instead of ghost because for one, it is a new type combination, and I thought that was cool, and for two, it is based on the Kachina figures. The Kachinas are good spirits who are said to bring messages from the gods, and good fortune to the tribes they visit. Ghost type felt too malevolent for this sort of inspiration, and fairies are traditionally bringers of good luck and fortune, so I felt it fit better. This line actually has its own ecosystem. The Rowlet dig deep, expansive, city-like burrows that can go on for miles, while the Dartrix defend the entrances and exits to the burrows. And a council of Decidueye oversee these underground metropolises. So that's all I have for now. What did you think? Which variant was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And become a member to show some extra support to the channel. With that, I will see you guys next time. Cryptids. Mysterious creatures that defy belief with their extraordinary features. A whale that slides down mountains causing rock slides. A possible relative to Bigfoot and the Yeti found in the Magean Rim. A crocodilian serpent living in the depths of Bear Lake named Isabella. Are they real or fake? Well, I know one thing that is fake. Fakemon, based on these fantastic creatures. Hey everyone, Brandon here with another video featuring my Fakemon region, the Cornera region. This time we are discussing some cryptid Fakemon. If you missed previous videos in this series, make sure to check them out. The playlist is in the description. But before we get started talking about these cryptid Fakemon, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If we can hit 3,000 likes on this video, I will show off some more amazing cryptid Fakemon. Also, become a member if you want to show some extra support to the channel. So for the Cornera region, I really wanted to have some Fakemon based on cryptids, because they are so popular here in the US. I also wanted to try to stick to cryptids found only in the Four Corners region, since that's where Cornera is based on, and I did, for the most part, with some design elements being based on cryptids from other states and even countries. So I'm taking a look at this script as I'm reading it and noticing a trend, so it made me think of a drinking game. Take a sip every time I say cryptid. I apologize in advance to your liver. Anyway, let's get into some Fakemon. Starting us off is a Corneramon you may be familiar with, if you watched the new type combos video. This is Jakabit, a fairy fighting type jackalope Pokemon. Not that I really need to explain, since it is such a famous creature, but for those living under a rock, a jackalope is a jackrabbit with the antlers of an antelope. The origin of this creature comes from the 1930s, when the Herrick brothers, who were hunters and skilled taxidermists, grafted deer antlers onto a jackrabbit mount, and sold it to a hotel in Douglas, Wyoming. Just a warning, but what I'm about to show may be gross to some. But some say the inspiration of the jackalope comes from rabbits with the slope papillomavirus, which causes these horn-like protrusions to come out of the rabbit's body. But don't worry, Jakabit's horns are just horns, and not some disease or mutation of Pokerus. Next up, we have Corneran Lapras, which is inspired by a few things. The shell is inspired by the cathedral spires in Rocky Mountain National Park. The reason for it being in Cornera is the myth of dinosaurs still being alive in Colorado. And the design itself is inspired by the Bear Lake monster. As I said in the intro, this is a crocodilian serpent that has been sighted numerous times in Bear Lake since the 19th century. This is when Joseph C. Rich wrote some articles about the monster based on secondhand accounts of sightings. Ever since then, it has grown into a tourist attraction and even has its own guided tour on Bear Lake. It is said that this is the oldest form of Lapras. Unlike Cantonian Lapras, Corneran Lapras doesn't like humans and will hide at the bottom of rivers and lakes to avoid them. Due to this, the people of Cornera thought this Pokemon was just a myth. As some of you may know, Lapras is one of my favorite Pokemon, so obviously I had to include this amazing variant in Cornera. Next up are Boltiny and Bolterror, which are Rock Normal, a new type combo, and Rock Dark. They are both based on the Colorado cryptid, the Slide Rock Bolter. This gargantuan whale-like beast was known to slide down mountains and eat hikers, or bury them in the rock slides they cause. It is said to have been the cause for many disappearances over the years, and is blamed for the destruction of the mining town of Rico, Colorado. Back to Boltiny and Bolterror though. Boltiny is just a small little whale Pokemon. It likes to roll down hills and mountains pretending it's a boulder. This can sometimes cause it to hit other Pokemon or trainers, which only causes a minor amount of damage, seeing as it is the weight and size of an exercise ball. But if those rocks on the top of its head hit you, you're gonna have a bad time. But Bolterror, on the other hand, is not a Pokemon to be trifled with. It continues its love of rolling down hills, but in a much more destructive way. It can swim through solid rock and sand like it's water, but with it brings massive land and rock slides that it can use very accurately against opponents. Which leads to its ability, Stone Mason, which makes all rock-type moves it uses 100% accurate. I know I really don't talk about abilities too much in these videos, but if that's information you would like to know, all the abilities and stats of the Pokemon are available on the Cornera region Instagram account, linked in the description below, so go check that out if you haven't already. We also have another rock-type Cryptidmon with Corneran Sableye. It is Rock Ghost type, which is another new type combo. This little guy is based on the legend of Tommyknockers. These leprechaun-esque creatures are of Cornish origin, where Cornish miners believed them to knock on the cave walls to warn them of impending cave-ins. These miners would bring the story with them to America, as they searched the mines during the gold rushes of Colorado, Nevada, and California. There is even a brewery in Idaho Springs, Colorado, named Tommyknockers that started in 1859 during the Colorado Silver Boom, further perpetuating the myth of this cryptid into the mining community. There is also a very scary rendition of these creatures in a book by the legend himself, Stephen King, called The Tommyknockers. Corneran Sableye draws inspiration from both depictions of the Tommyknockers. Sableye, who used to hide in the darkness of caves, had a rude awakening when the miners came to Cornera seeking its lavish and expensive minerals. The caves became so filled with the light the miners brought with them, they had to adapt, and eventually they learned how to fuse with the cave walls, giving them the rock type. Though the miners invaded their home, mysteriously the Sableye would still look out for the miners and warn them of cave-ins and rock slides before they happen. Gaining its new typing and a sense of friendship with the miners allowed Sableye to evolve into Tomeye. Tomeye can sense rare minerals from hundreds of feet away while it is fused with the cave walls, and would help miners in their quests to get rich. Miners would repay their kindness by making them their partner Pokemon, and you can see many miners still use them today. Last but not least is something you guys have been asking to see, the pseudo-legendary of the Cornera region. Well, at least here's one of them. Meet Icekyle, Arctile, and Snowlieth. They are Ice Dragon type, and they are actually a mix of a few different cryptids: the Magian Monster, the Hodag, and the Yeti. As I said in the intro, the Magian Monster was a Sasquatch-like cryptid found in the Magian Rim of Arizona. It was first sighted in 1903 by I.W. Stevens, who described it as an ape-like creature covered in white and gray hair with long talon-like fingers, and he found it drinking the blood of 2 cougars. No, not those kind of cougars. The Hodag is a dragon and ox-like creature found in Wisconsin, which was first discovered in 1893 by Eugene Shepard. Shepard would later claim to have captured one and toured around America, but eventually admitted that it was fake. The Hodag was even featured in an episode of Scooby-Doo. Lastly, the Yeti. Unless you live under a rock, you probably should know what a Yeti is, right? Right. Coincidentally, the Yeti was also in Scooby-Doo, but, that wasn't planned. I actually found out the Hodag was featured in Scooby-Doo while I was writing this. Anyway, as you can see, each member of the line has design elements taken from all 3 cryptids. Icekyle looks like a derpy baby Hodag, Arctile is more ape-like and semi-bipedal, and gains the fabled claws of the Magian Monster, and Snowlieth becomes full-on bipedal with the curved fangs like the Hodag, and the gray and white fur from the Magian Monster and the Yeti. And the whole line being Ice-type is a reference to the Yeti and Magian Monster's habitats. But that's it for this video. Let me know which cryptid Pokemon was your favorite in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support on these videos greatly helps this channel grow, and I have the very lofty goal of reaching 25,000 subs by the end of this year. Let's see if we can make that happen. Also, you can become a member if you want to show a little extra support to the channel. Anyway, with that, I will see you guys next time. Colorado, the Centennial State, known for things like microbreweries and the legalization of weed. Both things that are not suitable for a kids game like Pokemon. Or advertiser friendly. Please don't demonetize me. So let's talk about Pokemon inspired by other parts of Colorado. Oh, Colorado. My home state and the main inspiration for the Fakemon region we've been creating, the Cornera region. It is a hodgepodge of Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, which is known as the Four Corners region in the US, because their borders meet to form, four corners. But as I said before, it is mainly based on Colorado, because I've lived there for 20 years. But while coming up with Fakemon for this region, I learned a lot of things I didn't know and made some cool Fakemon after them. But before we talk about those Fakemon, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with the Cornera region and all the other Fakemon content we do on this channel every week. What embodies the characteristics of a state more than its state symbols? We already have the state animal, the ram, as our fire starter line, the state bird, the lark bunting, as our regional bird line, the state fossil, the stegosaurus, as one of our fossil Pokemon. So how about the state flower? The Colorado blue columbine, though it looks like more of a purple to me. The way this flower is shaped reminded me a lot of the shape of the flower on Gossiflore's head. So why not make a regional variant out of it? Meet Corneran Gossiflore. It is now grass poison type. The poison typing is a reference to the high toxicity levels in the seeds and roots of the columbine. Corneran Gossiflore evolves into Corneran Eldegoss, which turns its cotton-like bloom into more of a flower bush instead, which just fits perfectly. The flowers on their heads produce a sickeningly sweet aroma that will literally make you sick if you get too close. Next up is something so iconic to Colorado, every Coloradoan will definitely know it. And people who have flown into Colorado will probably know it too. Here is Blucifer. This nightmare-inducing sculpture is stationed right outside Denver International Airport. Yes, this hellspawn is what the city of Denver decided would be a good idea to greet people as they entered and exited our state. What's worse is not only does it look terrifying, but it has a terrifying story behind it. It killed its original sculptor. You heard me correctly, it fell on them and killed them. The sculptor's friends and family had to take over and finish it. Yeah, it's a little bit of a dark story, but it kind of fits because it's October, right? So I had to include some kind of reference to the patricidal sculpture, so here is Necromane. It is a ghost and fighting type, and as you can see, it kept Blucifer's beaming red eyes. Its ghost typing is a reference to Blucifer's tragic backstory, but also to the Mal de Ojo, or the Evil Eye, which is the superstitious belief that a malevolent glare can curse you. And you best believe those eyes can curse. The fighting type is a reference to the bucking broncos and rodeos, since that's what it looks like Blucifer is doing. On top of that, the Broncos are the official football team of Denver. So, all around, this mon is an amazing representation of Colorado. Trains! These locomotive titans are integral to Colorado history, and were vital in the growth of the state from 1880 to 1890. There are railroads all over the place here, so of course I had to reference them. So how about a bit of a unique regional variant? Meet Corneran Slowpoke. It is a pure ground type. It spends all its time laying around on train tracks, and causes the trains to stop so they can be removed. You can see over the generations in Cornera, it has gained this track-like pattern on its stomach and head. Its yellow stomach, pose, and typing are inspired by the yellow-bellied marmot, which is a ground squirrel found in the Rocky Mountains. The hanging out on train tracks is a reference to cattle and other wildlife that hang around train tracks. But unfortunately, the trains don't stop for them. Anyway, Slowpoke evolves! Something that has caused a change in Corneran Slowpoke's evolution is that shelter is not naturally found in Cornera. This has caused Slowpoke to adapt and evolve a bit differently. Meet Slowstack and Slowductor. Slowstack is a ground fire type, and evolves by leveling up Slowpoke while holding the new shovel item. Slowstack is a reference to firemen. Not those firemen, these ones, also known as stokers. They are the guys who load the coal into the steam engine's boiler firebox. Slowstack serves as a fireman on the trains of Cornera, using its highly adapted tail to shovel coal with great proficiency. Slowductor, on the other hand, is a ground steel type, and evolves by leveling up Slowpoke while holding the new Train Wheel item. It is based on train conductors. Slowductor operate as assistants to the train conductors and help keep the trains of Cornera running efficiently. I really love the story of this line. These pests to the train system become some of their most vital assets. So one of my favorite things I learned about when researching Fakemon ideas for the Cornera region is this sculpture called Isaac Heartstone that lives in Breckenridge, Colorado. He is a troll, sculpted out of recycled wood by the artist Thomas Dambo. This guy was so popular that he would get up to 3,000 visitors a day, and it got to the point where his neighbors asked for him to be torn down. But don't worry, he has been rebuilt in a new location, and you can still visit him. This big guy inspired the other pseudo-legendary of Cornera. Meet Gobleaf, Alpole, and Bulgur. They are all rock grass type. The rock typing is a reference to how most depictions of trolls have them made out of stone. And Isaac even has stone in his last name. The grass typing is a reference to Isaac being made out of wood, and trolls also being depicted wearing some kind of foliage as clothing or hair. The line also draws inspiration from Disney films. Gobleaf is a reference to the trolls in Frozen. Alpole is a reference to Flynn Rider from Tangled, and how they could never get his nose right. And Bulgur is a reference to the Earth Giants from Frozen 2. Bulgur's pose is even inspired by both Isaac and the Earth Giants. This line is also obsessed with the elements of its typing. Gobleaf likes to hide in piles of leaves in the fall and pretend to be part of the pile. Alpole carries rocks in its bag that are precious to its family. And Bulgur likes to sit and make little towers out of stones to pass the time, just like Isaac. But that's all the Colorado-based mons for now. Let me know which one was your favorite. Also, if you liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. With that, I will see you guys next time. Let's make more Pokemon with new type combinations Game Freak hasn't used. So, previously in this series, we made a video about some Fakemon I made for my region, the Cornera region, that had new type combos that Game Freak hasn't used yet. Since that video, we have shared a couple more of my Fakemon with unused type combos, and we even got an official normal ghost type with Hisuian Zora and Zoroark. So today we are going to look at some more Pokemon of Cornera who have unused type combos. But before we get started, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Only about 13% of you guys watching are subscribed, so make sure to click that subscribe button. Also, become a member if you want to show some extra support to the channel. There are some great perks and it helps me out a lot. So starting us off is Ice Poison. For this type combination, I opted to go with something simple, a regional variant of Seviper. I just thought an iceberg at the end of its tail would be cool, and it fits really well. These Seviper decided to try to escape from the Zangoose instead of fighting against them. They fled into the icy mountains of Cornera and adapted to living in the harsh climate. Next up is more poison with the normal poison type combo. For this, I actually got this idea from my friend Adis Region on Instagram. This is Corneran Litleo and Corneran Pyroar. They are based on apex predators like lions or tigers that sometimes get treated poorly in zoos and become fat and lazy, essentially poisoning them. These Litleo and Pyroar were brought over from Kalos and people attempted to domesticate them. This lifestyle led to them becoming very lazy, and the fire they once had burned out, and their lifestyle gave them the poison typing. Before I get a bunch of comments on this, I know not all zoos are bad, and that these animals can live good lives in animal sanctuaries. This is just inspired by the bad zoos who treat their animals poorly. For Ground Fairy, I already introduced Corneran Decidueye in a previous video. Check that out if you missed it. But there is another Ground Fairy type in Cornera that is too cute and derpy not to introduce to you all. Meet Dust Bunny. It is known for tickling the noses of the people of Cornera, which makes people sneeze, but it's one of those sneezes that feels super satisfying. This Pokemon is actually a part of a branch evolution. It evolves from the ground normal type Duskbeck when leveled up during the day. Duskbeck are very much about going with the flow. They just let the breeze take them all over Cornera, which is great because they love to explore. But if Duskbeck is leveled up at night, it becomes Dustdevo. It is a ground dark type and is such a derp. It will go around whipping up dust storms and causing general mischief. Next up, we have a type combination many have been begging to see from the games: Fire Grass. Rather than going for a chili pepper or some kind of burning tree, I decided to go with something people have already thought should be a thing and put my own spin on it. Many have said that they think Sunflora fits the Fire Grass type well, considering it is a sunflower, and I agree. Sunflora is a not so great mon, and deserves some form of redemption. So why not a new typing and a new evolution? If you give Sunflora a nucleotype, the gimmick of my region, check this video here for an explanation, it gains the fire typing, and now can evolve into Synthesis. This is definitely one of my favorites of the Cornera region. Synthesis can take in enormous amounts of sunlight and use it to fuel the flames through its petals. Its name is a mixture of sun, Colossus, and Synthesis. It is inspired by the sunflowers outside Denver International Airport, the Colossus of Rhodes, Wrestlers, and Sunstone from Steven Universe. Lastly, we have Rock Ghost. We previously introduced Corneran Sableye and Tomeye, but there's also another Rock Ghost type in Cornera I would like to show you guys. Let's begin with the pure rock type Corneran Cubone. And its new evolution, Foscalar. These guys are obsessed with fossils. Cubone from Cornera use fossils instead of their mother's bones. Foscalar likes to collect a bunch of different fossils, and hoard them away from archaeologists. Foscalar is a mixture of fossil, scholar, and collarbone. But something very unique happens when you give Foscalar a nucleotype. Its DNA binds with the DNA of the fossils it collects, and it evolves into Amalgalith. It is now a rock ghost type. The souls of the fossils have reawakened and now reside within Amalgalith, as well as its own soul. As you can see, this is truly an amalgamation of different dinosaurs. You have Triceratops, T-Rex, Diplodocus, Stegosaurus, and Ankylosaurus all mixed in there. This hodgepodge of different physical traits makes Amalgalith a very versatile Pokemon, and a force to be reckoned with. But that's all for the unused type combos of Cornera. Well, not quite all of them. There is one mon left with an unused type combo, but it is going to be in a very specific video, so I'll save it for then. But let me know which Pokemon in this video was your favorite. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. With that, I will see you guys next time. There are certain Pokemon who only evolve once, or don't evolve at all, so let's give them new evolutions. Pokemon Evolution, a mechanic that is probably the biggest facet of the franchise. Throughout the different generations, there have been Pokemon who only evolve once, or never receive an evolution at all. In the past, Game Freak has remedied this by giving old Pokemon new evolutions. Through a bunch of different methods, such as new trait evolutions using new trait items, new evolutionary stones, having Pokemon level up knowing a certain move, and one of my personal favorites we were introduced to in Galar, gaining a new evolution thanks to a regional form. In my Fakemon region, Cornera, we have already explored a ton of new evolutions to old Pokemon due to the gimmick of the region, nucleotypes. But there are more evolutions to old Pokemon in the Cornera region that don't come from nucleotypes that I would like to explore with you today. But before we do that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with everything happening on the channel. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Jobless Music. They have been composing some epic music for the Cornera region that you will start hearing in these videos, so make sure to check out Jobless's YouTube channel. They are absolutely killing these tracks and I'm super happy with them. Also, I don't plug this nearly as much as I probably should, but make sure to check out the official Instagram account of the Cornera region, @MagicDex. There you can see stats, abilities, dex entries, and the shinies, which I know a lot of you have been asking for. I also do a Q&A every Tuesday if you have questions about the Cornera region. So, a while back I introduced a Pokemon called Paleedle. And in that video, I said it had a special relationship with a certain Pokemon. Well, as I'm sure you've guessed, that Pokemon is Smeargle. If you level up Smeargle to level 35 with a Paleedle in your party, it evolves into Striggle. Striggle is based on Renaissance painters and Renaissance clothing. It has an eye for more complex and refined painting techniques than Smeargle, and is rarely seen not painting. It is always working on its next big creation. Its name comes from streak, strie, a painting technique, and beagle. So, a lot of people were wondering after I released my Evolutions of Every Type video, if there would be a sound type evolution in Cornera. Well, I'm happy to report there is one. When Eevee is leveled up near the Corneran city of Altopolis, it evolves into Symphion. Symphion can create vibrations with its tail that become enchanting music. Speaking of music, this mon has tons of musical inspiration in its design, such as string instruments, a treble clef, a music staff, and even orchestra conductor and musician attire. I really felt that incorporating music into an evolution would be a super cool idea, and it turned out I was right. And for those wondering why I didn't include Symphion in my Evolutions of Every Type video, I wanted to stick to the official types rather than adding a fan type, as well as I wanted to introduce Symphion in the Cornera series of videos rather than insert it into a completely different series. So, two Pokemon that I feel got the short end of the stick evolution-wise were Sock and Throw. I mean, their counterpart the Hitmons got a new pre-evolution and became an evolutionary trio in the generation after their debut, so I figured why not give Sock and Throw the same treatment. Meet Chop. Chop is obviously the equivalent to Tyrogue, and Chop is based on mixed martial arts, or MMA for short, a massively expanding sport around the world, but in the US in particular due to the existence of the UFC. Instead of evolving at level 20 based on its stats like Tyrogue, Chop determines what it will evolve into based on what kind of belt it is holding. When leveled up to level 20, if it is holding a black belt, it will evolve into a Sock. If it is holding a power belt, it will evolve into a Throw. And if it is holding an expert belt, it will evolve into Kick. Kick is based on White Oni, as well as another very widespread martial art, kickboxing. I really wanted Kick to feel like a perfect middle ground between Sock and Throw. Sock is on the skinnier side and is the karate Pokemon, and Throw is on the heftier side and is the judo Pokemon. So, Kick is more on the muscular side and is the kickbox Pokemon. All three are based on forms of martial arts that started in Japan and became popular worldwide. And the love for this trio doesn't stop there, but I will save that for a future video. As I said at the start of the video, regional evolution was introduced in Galar, and I just love that concept. As you can clearly tell by the many regional evolutions I have made. But there are a couple more regional evolutions I wanted to share in this video. After that, there are only 2 more regional evolutions, but they are planned for a separate video. But after that, that's it, I swear. So for this first one, I have to introduce Corneran Murkrow. It is now grass flying type. And it is based on hay, farmers, and barn swallows. These Murkrow have adapted to farm life in Cornera, and are known to play in the hay bales the farmers make, and even preen them to make them look nice and neat. But when introduced to a leaf stone, Corneran Murkrow evolves into Ranch Crow. Come on, the pun was too perfect. Known as the farmhand Pokemon, Ranch Crow will scare away other bird Pokemon that would do harm to the farmer's crops. Ranch Crow is based on farmers, hay, barn swallows, and also scarecrows. It's a crow based on a scarecrow that scares crows. How great is that? Last but certainly not least, we have another regional evolution. This one is a bit different, as it doesn't come from a regional form like other regional evolutions. It's a new and very rare evolution to Primeape, discovered to be exclusive to the Cornera region. When leveled up to level 40 while on routes 15 to 17, Primeape evolves into Sasquake. It is now a fighting ground type. And yes, I realize I have like 3 fighting and ground type Pokemon when there were none before, but whoever said I was good with planning. Also, there were like 2 Fire Monkey lines in Gen 5, when they just introduced a Fire Monkey line in Gen 4, so I rest my case. Anyway, Sasquake is obviously based on the legend of the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, but it is also based on silverback gorillas.
Why didn't you include this in the Cryptid Pokemon video, Brandon?
Because there was already a Sasquatch and Yeti-inspired mon in that video, and there was already a lot of fake mon in that video, dear commenter. Sasquake is rarely seen in the wild, and were believed to be extinct until a recent resurgence in the population. But that's it for today. Make sure to let me know which mon was your favorite. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And with that, I will see you guys next time.
Let's make new Pokemon based on stuff from Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. My Pokemon region, Cornera, is based on Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona, also known as the Four Corners region. We have already covered some of the Corneran Pokemon based on things from Colorado, so today we will discuss some of the Pokemon based on the other 3 states. We have already discussed a few mons based on things from Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, like Corneran Lapras being based on the Bear Lake Monster of Utah, Babex and Jabex being based on Ibexes that were imported to New Mexico, and Corneran Zigzagoon, Security, and Coatitan based on coatis found in southern Arizona and New Mexico. But before we get started on some new mons, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, so you can keep up to date with future Fakemon videos on the channel. To kick things off, let's discuss an anomaly that took place in San Juan County, Utah, that sparked a worldwide phenomenon. I am of course speaking of the Utah monolith that first appeared in July 2016, but was first discovered in November of 2020. This mysterious 10-foot tall metal pillar appeared seemingly out of nowhere and took the world by storm. Following the discovery and intense media coverage of the metal triangular prism, over 200 others like it appeared at different locations all over the world. While this all sounds a bit paranormal, the monolith and others were confirmed to be man-made, though they didn't find out who made it. Some have guessed it was an attempt to replicate the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but the mystery of the monolith evokes a certain power and aura that can't be explained. So let's make a Pokemon about it. Meet Corneran Magnemite. It is now Steel Psychic type. It is said that this form of Magnemite appeared very suddenly and recently in the Cornera region. No one quite knows how or why it appeared, only that it is, in fact, a Magnemite. At level 30, Corneran Magnemite evolves into Magnolith. This mon has the inexplicable power to make the minds of Pokemon and people feel foggy. Magnolith's power is based on the idea of technological mind control. Like the conspiracy theorists who thought we would be mind controlled using 5G. When leveled up to level 40 holding an upgrade, Magnolith evolves into Magnifluid. Yup, the pyramid shapes of this design are based on the famous Illuminati symbol, the Eye of Providence. There are actually also some strong ties to the Illuminati in Colorado, specifically at Denver International Airport. There is a conspiracy of an underground bunker underneath DIA for the Illuminati to take shelter in once an apocalypse comes, based on a bunch of theories collectively called the Den Files. Yeah, it's some pretty crazy stuff. The whole line in general is just based on conspiracies and unexplained mysteries. Magnifluid is also inspired by and covered in ferrofluid, a form of magnetic liquid. Magnifluid is said to control its fluid with its psychic powers. From science fiction to science fact, meet Pando the Trembling Giant, found in Fish Lake National Forest, Utah. It is the world's oldest and most massive singular living organism. Pando is a clonal colony of an individual quaking aspen tree. Yes, this whole forest is the same tree. So now, let's meet Corneran Tangela. It is now grass ground type. Corneran Tangela like to plant the roots deep in the earth and stay in one place for as long as possible, and won't move unless absolutely necessary. In order to evolve Tangela in Cornera, you have to use a very different method, as it doesn't learn ancient power. You have to level it up to level 40 with 2 other Tangela in your party. They fuse together to form Corneran Tangrowth. Their minds and power have become one. It uses its long roots to ensnare its foes, and to restore its energy by absorbing the nutrients in the soil. Continuing with Utah, we have a man-made marvel that you can actually walk inside of. These are ice castles. They are built in Colorado, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New York, and Wisconsin, but they originated in Utah, thanks to a man named Brent Christensen, who initially made the ice castles for his 6 kids to keep them entertained. So, I know a lot of you probably think you know where this is headed, right? Ice-type Corneran Sandygast and Palisand, right? Wrong. Meet Corneran Stonejourner, a pure ice type. While Sandygast and Palisand would have fit this concept well, I had an idea in my head for a Stonejourner that I thought was really clever and wanted to explore. Corneran Stonejourner like to travel great distances in the winter. They will form large groups and travel from place to place, forming amazing structures that the children of Cornera love to play in. The concept of an ice-type Stonejourner works really well, and I quite enjoy it. But what really ties this concept together is the regional variant of its counterpart from Galar. Meet Corneran Ice-Q. It is now a pure rock type. That's right, I switched their typings. I just found this idea more fun than just one regional line that also fit the concept. Corneran Ice-Q is based on the layered sediment you can see in Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona. Unlike the original, Corneran Ice-Q's head is a lot more sturdy as it's made of solid rock, and therefore doesn't break. Their neck and shoulders definitely have to be super jacked to hold up the weight of this rock head. This pair is one of my favorites in Cornera, because I just love how the typings being switched managed to work so well. Lastly, let's discuss a sort of strange animal that lives in every state of the Four Corners region. This is a pronghorn. Also known as an American antelope, it is the fastest land mammal in the Western Hemisphere, getting up to speeds of 55 miles per hour, being the second fastest land mammal in existence. Why are they so fast, you ask? Well, while there aren't any current predators that can run anywhere close as fast in this area, there used to be an American cheetah, but it went extinct about 10,000 years ago. So pronghorns just stayed fast because they never had any evolutionary pressure to slow down. So how about a psychic-type pronghorn that uses telekinesis to move at insanely fast speeds? Meet Fantasy, the float Pokemon. It can sense danger minutes before it becomes threatened, and can escape with ease due to its speed. This precognition leaves Fantasy with a general sense of whimsy about it and a very cheery personality, just because it really doesn't have anything to worry about as far as threats. I wanted Fantasy to have a unique and fun coloration to make it live up to its name. At level 40, Fantasy evolves into Idolope. On top of its powers of precognition and telekinesis, it has now also gained the ability to commune with spirits of Pokemon on the prairies of Cornera. The addition of the ghost typing, while being a continued reference to ESP from Fantasy, is also a reference to the pronghorn's nickname, the Ghost of the Prairie, due to its absurd speed. Idolope has a bit more of a sleek and aerodynamic design than Fantasy, to really rein in the idea of it being made for speed. I gave it a 175 base stat in speed, which would make it the fastest ghost type, the second fastest psychic type, being only beaten by Deoxys speed form, and the third fastest Pokemon overall. But that's all the Pokemon of Cornera based on Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Let's make some new forms for Pokemon like Ninetales and Aromatisse that give them the typings they so rightly deserve. So, in a previous video, I introduced the gimmick of my Fakemon region, Cornera, which is called Nucleotypes. A quick summary is that it alters, or more accurately, completes the part of a Pokemon's DNA that gives them their typing. This results in old Pokemon gaining new typings, new evolutions, and even new forms called Genos forms. Think Megas, but permanent. So today, we're going to take a look at some new Genos forms, and one new Nucleotype evolution, because there was literally no other video I could put it in that made sense.
But before we take a look at those, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos on the Cornera region. So let's begin with a trio of Genos forms. The trio in question being Sock, Throw, and my new entry to the line, Kick. Let's actually start with Kick. I got a lot of comments about how Kick should have been purple or yellow. Well, there's a small detail I forgot to point out when I introduced Kick. When you put the trio together, what do you notice if you read the colors left to right? Red, white. Yes, that is why Kick is white, because Merca. Well, that's not the only reason why it is white. The other reason you're about to find out. Meet Genos Kick, a fighting ice type. Fun fact, this is the only one of my own Fakemon that gets a Genos form, and it's only because it's part of a trio with other Mons I thought deserved a different typing. Speaking of those other Mons, here is Genos Sock and Genos Throw, electric fighting and fire fighting. Like I said when I introduced Chop and Kick, I always felt that Sock and Throw deserved a bit more love. So on top of already giving them Tyrogue and Hitmontop equivalents, I also gave them new forms. I know that may seem like a lot, but they deserve it. I mean, look at these kings. So let me explain why I picked the typings I did for these two. So Throw is firefighting because, well, it's red. Kind of self-explanatory there. And I know, another firefighting type. But keep in mind, the only other firefighting types currently are starter Pokemon. So since Throw is red, and that means fire, Sock is blue, so that means water, right? Well, with Sock there's another design detail that caught my eye. The crest on its face. To me, it looks like a little lightning bolt. And other electric types have been blue before. On top of that, lightning in real life typically gives off a blue or purple light against the clouds. When put together, this trio makes up the types of the move Tri-Attack. And when you include the fact they're all fighting type in that, which fighting is essentially a synonym for attacking, it all comes together so well. So let's make that their nickname, the Tri-Attack Trio. And one more thing, Chop is gray, not white. Next up, let's talk about Ninetales. Vulpix and Ninetales draw inspiration from the Kitsune, Japanese fox yokai that are said to have many tails, extremely long lifespans, and a plethora of supernatural abilities such as breathing fire and superintelligence. Ninetales is more specifically based on the Kyubi no Kitsune, or the nine-tailed fox spirit. This is a special kitsune that has lived for 1,000 years, after which its fur turns gold and it gains a 9th tail. The kitsune are said to grow even wiser as they age, so naturally the Kyubi no Kitsune are extremely intelligent. Ninetales carries this inspiration in many ways, primarily having access to a few ghost and psychic type moves, and that multiple dex entries mention it living for 1,000 years due to the power in its tails. Many have made the argument that Ninetales should be Fire Ghost, given its yokai inspiration, ability to curse people that grab its tail, and it learning Will-O-Wisp. But something being a yokai doesn't always mean it's a ghost in Japanese folklore. Kind of like the word supernatural doesn't always mean ghosts. The word for spirit is also used to reflect a state of knowledge or enlightenment. Just like the Kyubi no Kitsune, Ninetales are also extremely intelligent and can understand human speech, as well as it has the ability to hypnotize opponents and even control their minds. So I think Fire Psychic type is more fitting. With that said, here is Genos Ninetales. I very much wanted this to look like an older and more experienced version of Ninetales. It can now manifest the power within its tails physically through these fiery orbs. Its body is now darker, which is a reference to oxidation, which turns gold and other metals darker over time, which is a reflection of how kitsune get wiser over time. The markings on its face are a reference to geisha, which are women renowned for their many indispensable talents, much like Ninetales' many abilities. While we're on the topic of ghosts, let's talk about Banette, a Pokemon born from an abandoned doll, fueled by a grudge against the person who threw it away, living just to hunt for them. So let's make this sad boy happy. This is Genos Banette, a ghost fairy type. Thanks to the power of nucleotypes, part of Banette has been restored to the doll it was before it became a Pokemon. Rather than spending its time trying to find the person who tossed it away, it tries to make itself seem cuter, in hopes a new person will love it. That's right, Spinette doesn't have any time to waste on toxic X's. Speaking of toxic, let's talk about a Pokemon I think deserves the poison typing, Aromatisse. Aromatisse is based all around perfume. Its body is shaped like a perfume bottle / powder puff. Its face is a reference to plague doctors and that they would put perfume in their masks to mask the smell of the dead, and it emits different aromas, hence its name. In almost all its dex entries, it is stated that Aromatisse can emit both good and bad scents, and some scents so strong and foul that those nearby can lose their sense of smell or even lose their will to fight. A strong and foul smell, huh? Almost like a skunk, like, I don't know, Stunky and Skuntank, who are poison type, for that exact reason. On top of that, perfume can be poisonous when ingested, so yeah. Genos Aromatisse, very poison type. It leans more into the plague doctor side of things with its design, but also gives it a little extra flamboyant hat. And it even adds a little bit of a trench coat salesman kind of thing in there, like the "you wanna buy a sundial" guy from Hercules. Genos Aromatisse can create its own perfumes and poisons. If it doesn't like you, it will trick you into thinking it's giving you perfume when it's actually giving you poison. So, don't get on Genos Aromatisse's bad side. So Druddigon has multiple reasons it should be a rock type. For one, its design basis. It is based on the red-headed Rock Agama. 2, its dex entries. It is said that Druddigon dwells in caves, you know, where most rock types hang out. And when it gets too cold, Druddigon will become immobile. This is reminiscent of gargoyles who turn to stone during the day. It even says that Druddigon's head is harder than rock. So let's meet Genos Druddigon, a dragon rock type. I wanted to lean more into its already jagged design to make it feel even more like a rock type than it already did. And it is now also based on Mayan art and statues. Genos Druddigon are actually one of the few Genos Pokemon who can be found in the wild. This is because it resides in the cave where the crystals that make nucleotypes are found. There are many a tale of Genos Druddigon. One being it being a guardian of a lost city, filled with unlimited treasure. Yes, it is also an El Dorado reference, because I love that movie. These last two Pokemon I think deserve the sound type. First is Maractus. I mean, this one should be obvious, right? It's literally a dancing cactus, and its name is based on maracas, and its Japanese name even has mariachi mixed in as well. So let's amp up the mariachi inspiration. Meet Genos Maractus, a grass sound type. Its power of song and dance have increased enormously, especially because now it has to defend itself from predators even more fiercely because it bears fruit. This is of course a reference to prickly pear cacti and the prickly pears they bear. Man, say that 10 times fast. Like I said before, this design fully leans into the mariachi inspiration, giving it a full mariachi musician's outfit. Lastly is that nucleotype evolution I was talking about. This one is also pretty obvious. Chimecho. It's a wind chime. What else do I need to say? When giving a Chimecho a nucleotype, it gains the sound type, and at level 40 can evolve into Skelecho. I find this one pretty fun because it's kind of a reference to skeletons being depicted playing their ribs like a xylophone. But that's all the Genos forms and nucleotype evolutions in Cornera. Make sure to let me know which one in this video was your favorite. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, we now have a Discord. So if you want to talk Fakemon, share your thoughts on Cornera, or just meet others in this community, you can do it there. Click the link in the description down below to join. But with that, I will see you guys next time. Let's make legendary Pokemon based on Native American mythology for my Pokemon game concept, Pokemon Eventide. You guys have been asking, and asking, and asking, so here we are, the legendary Pokemon and their lore. But before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos on the Cornera region. Alright, legendary lore time. In the ancient days of Cornera, there was one mythical being, Racnera, the Gaia Pokemon. Legends tell that Racnera created the Cornera region by making an enormous web of land that pulled 4 regions together into one. In the process of these regions combining, 2 powerful Pokemon were formed. Sohale and Bonate. Sohale was formed by an eruption from Cornera's newly forged volcano. Some say the eruption shot up so high into the sky it touched the sun, making Sohale a beacon of light. Bonate, on the other hand, was crafted from the desolate darkness of the deepest caves, shaped from the colliding landmasses. So naturally, with Sohale being born of light and Bonate being born of darkness, they were destined to oppose each other. All was well for a time, until Sohale began to gain favor in Cornera, even being worshipped as a god for its wondrous glow. Sohale gave special treatment to the people for their worship, even creating 3 Pokemon for their benefit. Kukapoli, the Flora Pokemon, to create wonderful plant life for the arid region, and music to entertain them. Nimbolfa, the Storm Pokemon, to create rains to help those plants grow. And finally, Poloto, the Snowstorm Pokemon, to cover the mountains with snow and help begin the harvest season. Sohale's popularity made Bonate incredibly jealous. His jealousy turned to hate and anger. This dark surge of emotion began infecting Cornera and its Pokemon with shadows. This darkness continued to spread, and Bonate in his rage created 3 agents of chaos to attack Cornera. 1 to cause the people to fight amongst themselves, 1 to flood the crops, and another to burn the forests. Sohale came to defend Cornera, and used its incredible radiance to battle Bonate, driving it and the Agents of Darkness back into the dark depths of Cornera. The battle took its toll on Cornera though. The radiant and shadow energy from the Pokemon had seeped into parts of the land, forming odd crystals. The people look back at this battle and celebrate Sohale by worshipping the sun, as they believe it is the closest thing to matching its radiance. It is believed that Bonate is waiting in the shadows to strike back at Sohale in solemn loneliness where no one worships it. The tale of their great battle remains in the annals of Corneran history. Now that we know the lore behind them, let's take a closer look at these Pokemon. Let's begin with the trio created by Sohale, titled the Gift Trio, for the gifts they provided humanity and the fact they were a gift from Sohale. These 3 are all based on Hopi deities, or Kachina, that are involved in the Pawamu ceremony, aka the Bean Planting Festival. First up is Kukapoli, the Flora Pokemon, a grass sound type. This Pokemon can create music that sprouts flora by letting the air flow through its tail as it runs. The faster it runs, the more plants it grows. Kukapoli is based on 3 things: Kokopelli, Aholi, and the Greater Roadrunner. Kokopelli is a Native American deity of fertility, agriculture, and music. If you live in Western America, you are bound to have seen this guy around. Whether on a bumper sticker or a shirt, this guy has a lot of merch. Where the Roadrunner aspect comes in is in some depictions of Kokopelli, particularly the Kachina dolls of him from the Hopi people, show him with an almost beak-like protrusion coming from his mouth. From there, I kinda had the picture of its tail being a flute, and the rest fell into place. Lastly, Aholi, a Kachina that is the patron saint of the Pikyas, aka the Young Corn clan. The colors of his robe represent flowers and the brightness of summer. Kukapoli's name comes from Kokopelli and Aholi, obviously, and Kaku, the family of birds that the Greater Roadrunner comes from. Next is Nimbolfa, the Storm Pokemon, a flying water type. And before you say it, yes, Nimbolfity's nuts. Haha, very funny, let's move on. Nimbolfa can create fierce rainstorms with its mighty howl, which is of course a reference to wolves howling at the moon. The moon affects the tides affect the weather, full circle. Nimbolfa's name comes from Nimbostratus, the dark gray clouds that produce rain, and are incorporated into Nimbolfa's design. It also comes from Nimble, wolf, and lastly, Ahola, another Kachina of the Hopi people. Ahola performs on the first night of Pawamu. The next morning they will place cornmeal in front of each home as a prayer for rain. Lastly is Poloto, the Snowstorm Pokemon, an ice ground type. Poloto can summon massive snowstorms that can freeze even the harshest deserts. Poloto's name comes from polar, or polar bear, which is of course the design basis, and Iototo. Iototo is a Kachina that appears alongside Aholi, and performs rituals to help bring clouds and moistures into the pueblo, to help bring about a fruitful harvest season. To me, Iototo's appearance very much looked like a polar bear, which was my initial inspiration for the concept. But Poloto's ability to bring snow is also a reference to Iototo bringing clouds, moisture, and a fruitful harvest season. Because most of the moisture we get in the Four Corners area comes from snow, and winter brings about the harvest season, so it was a natural fit. Next is the second trio of legends, created by Bonate, known as the Ruin Trio, named after the ruin they bring to anything they touch.
They act as a direct antithesis to each of the gift trio. These three are inspired by aspects of the Hopi creation story. To give a very rough explanation, the Hopi believed there were 3 worlds before ours, but each was destroyed by some kind of calamity of man. We are currently in the 4th world, and the Hopi believe that the 5th and final world will be perfect. So first is Mawkus, the Deceit Pokemon, a dark sound type. Mawkus is based on Makni, a kind of mockingbird that convinced humans and animals that they could not live in peace together, and ultimately caused the downfall of the first world. Mawkus, very much in that same vein, can change the hearts and minds of Pokemon with its voice. Mawkus's appearance reflects more of a crow than a mockingbird, but crows are typically depicted to be more villainous, and also there is a Kachina known as the Crow Mother. Here's its Hopi name that I won't embarrass myself trying to pronounce. Mawkus's name comes from mock and ruckus, but also sounds like mock us, because that's what it's doing. Next is Hydrana, the Flood Pokemon, a dark water type. Hydrana is based on an Uktana, a horned serpent found throughout many Native American myths. It being the Flood Pokemon is based on the flooding of the Third World, which gave rise to the Fourth. It is also a reference to the 2 major floods that took place in Colorado in the Big Thompson River. The bigger one happened in 1976, and then another one happened in 2013. Hydrana floods anything it touches, drowning any plant life and destroying property. Last of the Ruin Trio is Demonata, the Scorched Earth Pokemon, a dark fire type. Obvious thing, it's a fire ant. Not obvious thing, it is also based on the destruction of the Second World, which was engulfed in flames, and to save its people, they hid in a giant anthill. Clever, right? I thought so. Demonata's name comes from demon, demolition, and Geminata, the species name for fire ants. Anywhere Demonata goes, it will leave a barren, singed wasteland in its wake. Finally, for the quote-unquote box legends of the Cornera region. If Cornera was a fan game, which it won't be, please stop asking, it would be a single title, Pokemon Eventide. Eventide means the evening, the balance just before light turns to darkness, which is a major theme in not only the legends, but the overall story of Pokemon Eventide. Anyway, here is Sohale, the Radiant Pokemon, a fire fairy type. Sohale is the embodiment of light, both solar and spiritual, the lawful good, if you will. Like I said in the lore bit at the beginning, Sohale's radiant energy created these crystals, which have the potential to change the DNA of Pokemon. These crystals are what you would find and use to create nucleotypes throughout the game. As for Sohale itself, it is inspired by a few things, namely the sun spirit of the Hopi, Tawa, who is said to have created the first world and all life on it. Fun little fact, did you know there's a dinosaur actually named after Tawa? Meet Tawahale, a theropod from the late Triassic period, with the only species being found in the Hayden Quarry of Ghost Ranch, New Mexico. So Sohale is based on a combination of both. Though, as far as design, I did bring in some elements of the Utah Raptor. Sohale's name comes from Soho, which means star in Hopi, Tawa, and Tawahale. Next is the opposite of Sohale, Bonate, the Corruption Pokemon, a dark ghost type. Bonate, like Sohale, also created crystals with the power to change Pokemon. But instead of changing the DNA of Pokemon, it changes their hearts, shutting the door to them. Sound familiar? It should. This is the origin of Shadow Pokemon. Mind blown, right? Just like in Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness, throughout your journey you will encounter Shadow Pokemon, mainly used by the unruly Team Echo. The technology for creating Shadow Pokemon would be further expanded upon by Cypher years after the events of this game. This links Cornera to Ore, as Cornera has Arizona as a partial inspiration and so does Ore. I even kinda had an idea where there would be DLC where you could go explore Ore in the post-game, and maybe make it a little bit of an alternate universe situation where there would be some new Orion regional forms. But anyway, back to Bonate. Bonate is based on a few Native American myths. For one, it is inspired by Coyote, a deity that is found throughout many native tribes. In some renditions, Coyote is benevolent. In others, Coyote is a supernatural trickster with power that rivals that of the creator. So, obviously I went for the latter. Bonate is also based on the Hopi deity Masa, or the Skeleton Man, the spirit of death and the keeper of the fifth world. He is also described to be a trickster at times, so I melded the concepts of Coyote and the Skeleton Man together. Its name comes from Bone, Masa, and Coyote. Last but not least is our third legend, Cornera, the Gaia Pokemon, a bug ground type.
Cornera is inspired by yet another Hopi deity, the Spider Woman. No, not that Spider Woman, this one. Also called Spider Grandmother, an earth goddess who can take the shape of a spider. It is said that Tawa and the Spider Woman created the earth and its people together. She can also be found in Navajo myth as a helper and protector of humans, but is also said to catch misbehaving children in her web and eat them. Move over, Krampus. The Spider Woman is depicted as creating the earth, but also living inside of it in her spider form. She is shown living in small caves or even her own area called Spider Rock. She could kind of be described as a Mother Earth figure, so I added on the additional inspiration of the Greek goddess of Earth, Gaia. For some additional Greek inspiration, Cornera's body shape is also inspired by the Greek myth of Arachne, a half spider, half woman. The part of Cornera's lore in which she strings 4 regions together is a reference to the fact I myself combined the 4 corner states together to make Cornera. Cornera has lived deep beneath the earth for eons, before the time of man. While being the 3rd legendary Pokemon, she would also act as the region's mythical Pokemon, and I imagine she would be the legendary there would be a movie about. And those are the legendary Pokemon of the Cornera region. Make sure to let me know which one was your favorite. We have almost wrapped up the Corneran Pokedex. Our next video will be a full look at the entire dex, which will feature some new mons that I couldn't quite figure out how else to fit in a video. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Now that we have posted the full Pokédex from my Fakemon region, the Cornera region, let's talk about some designs and concepts that didn't make it into the dex. Hey everyone, Brandon here. So as I said before, today I'm going to take you through some of the designs and concepts that ultimately didn't make the cut in the Cornera region, and why they were scrapped. Make sure to check out the previous video in the Cornera series before watching this one, so you can know what the full Cornera Pokédex actually looks like. But in that video, I said that the next video in this series would be a look at the maps and characters of the Cornera region. Well, as it turns out, that video became a little bit bigger of a production than I was anticipating, so I'll need some more time to get that finished. But I figured I would make this video for you avid Cornera fans in the meantime, so I didn't just leave you all hanging. Throughout this video, I will not only talk about the scrap designs, but also changes I would have made if I could go back and do this region over again now. As you know, Cornera has many regional variants. They make up approximately 1/3 of the Corneran Pokédex. The reason behind this is because initially, Cornera started off as an idea I had for a little fan game I wanted to create. I was inspired by the fan game Pokemon Daybreak, which has some really cool regional variants in it. So I figured I would just make my own fan game in my spare time and put a bunch of regional variants in instead of making my own Pokemon. So many of those original variants I had planned made it into the Cornera dex because I loved them so much and didn't have the heart to cut them. If I could go back now, I would definitely cut many of them. Quality over quantity, you know? Anyway, let's talk about some regional variants that did get cut. Starting us off is Corneran Swinub. This little guy is a poison and ground type. It is inspired by a type of wild pig that can be found in the southwestern United States, known as the peccary or javelina. The reason behind its typing is the peccary can release a strong musk when threatened, which is what gives them their nickname of the skunk pig. That nickname is also what inspired Corneran Swinub's black coloration. Another notable change to Swinub with this variation is now you can see its feet. The major reason for this is I wanted to lead into a branch evolution for Swinub, which would be Swinasty, the filth Pokemon. Swinasty plays up that smelly inspiration and adds some spikes onto its back to reference the peccary's other nickname, the Razorback, which is actually how I found out about this animal in the first place, as my grandpa lived in Arkansas and was a fan of the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. So there are a few reasons why I scrapped these two. Number one is I obviously had way too many regional variants already and needed to make cuts. Number two is that after thinking on it, taking a 3-stage line and turning it into a 2-stage split evo didn't really make much sense for Pokemon, as we've never seen it done before and therefore didn't seem very logical to me. Number three is I think I overdesigned Swinasty. There's just too much going on there to the point that it really doesn't feel like a Pokemon anymore. I think the concepts for these two are really cool, but probably would have been better applied to an original mon and not a regional variant of Swinub. If you've made it this far into the video, I'm sure you would love the rest of the content on my channel, so make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. Another regional variant line that was scrapped is one that was actually cut in the middle of me posting about the Cornera region, and has left many confused as to where it went.
The regional variants I am referring to are Corneran Roggenrola, Corneran Boldor, and Corneran Gigalith. They are all obviously rock electric types. They are all inspired by the Colorado Gold Rush, and the fact that gold is a really good conductor of electricity. The idea is that they would blend in caves and be mistaken for real gold, so when a miner would strike them, they would get mad and chase the miner down. Eventually, they evolved to have a pickaxe-like face in order to avoid getting hit, making miners think someone had already claimed that gold mining spot. So I scrapped these for a few reasons. For one, just like Swinub, I had way too many variants. For two, just like Swinasty, Boldor and Gigalith are a bit over-designed. Also, a mistake I made is that the eyes don't really go along with the line's already established lore that they aren't actually eyes but rather hexagonal ears. 3 is that they are ultimately just redundant. We have the Alolan Geodude line that already has the rock electric typing and the gold inspiration, so there really isn't much of a reason for the Corneran Roggenrola line to exist. Number 4 is that it didn't mess up my deck's layout on Instagram. And number 5 is that I already had way too many rock types in the decks, so I needed to make cuts. Like I said before, I cut this out mid-posting of the decks. I think it was right before I posted the Let's Make New Forms video. I've seen many people wondering where it went, and it turned into kind of a meme on my Discord server. Feel free to join my Discord, by the way. The invite is in my link tree in the description. Now let's talk about some original Pokemon that got cut. One of the first things that made me decide to switch from making a fan game to creating a fan region is the thought, it'd be kind of cool to make my own starter Pokemon. The first starter line I created was the Cactus line. But Cactus originally had a very different design for its final evolution. Here is the original design for Serafloria. As you can see, it is pretty different from the final design. The reason I changed it was because after making Ovasuvius and Penthagon, I realized it didn't match the leap in design from the middle stage. It kinda just felt like a bigger Buctus with flowers on it. Given that Buctus, Capragma, and Gulurine only evolved from being given a nucleotype, I wanted their evolutions to feel like they almost mutated, as one would when a part of their DNA is changed. Speaking of the starters, I actually had a completely different fire starter than the Flambabe line originally. As has become quite controversial to do now, I followed the Chinese zodiac of the snake instead of the goat. Anyway, here is Slizzle, Serpent, and Slithire. Slizzle and Serpent are pure fire type, and Slithire is fire ice type. They are inspired by king snakes, kings, and the Uktana. So let's get into why they were scrapped. The biggest reason is the concept just didn't translate from my brain into a good Pokemon. Honestly, Slithire just feels like a straight up Digimon, and Serpent feels too much like a final stage. This is in no way the artist's fault, I just couldn't figure out how to make this concept work properly. I wanted too much to be incorporated, which just showed how inexperienced I was at the art of creating Pokemon. And Uktana did end up making it into the decks with Hydrana, so you could think of this as Beta Hydrana. When I started the Cornera region, I did a thing a lot of creators do, and I tried to make a Pokemon to fill every type combo that doesn't exist in the actual games yet. For the Poison Steel type combo, I had this idea for a Pokemon that was inspired by oil wells. It would have a steel body with the ability to spit out oil at opponents. Well, what animals tend to spit a lot and can be found in the Four Corners area? Alpacas and llamas, of course. So here is Oilpaca and Oilama. While llamas and alpacas aren't native to the Four Corners area, there are many farms that have them as guards for their livestock, as they can chase away many predators. Oil wells are also kind of a foreign object, so I thought the combo would work well. Keywords being, I thought. The reason these two were scrapped was once again because I had an idea in my head that didn't translate well into a Pokemon, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. Another reason is because on further research and reflection, not every new type combo needs to be in a given region. I mean, on average, only 8 or 9 new type combos are added in each new generation, so I decided to try and pull back on how many new type combos I did. On top of that, I had the sound type to deal with making new type combos for. And while we're on the topic, if I could go back, I would not do the sound type. Normal works just fine for it in the same way that Fairy works for the light type and Psychic works for the Cosmic or Mystic type. After doing my own custom type, I have realized that I'm really not a big fan of custom typings. Speaking of things I'm not a big fan of anymore, let's talk about Eevee clones. They are a Pokemon, typically normal type, that have multiple branching evolutions, each with its own unique type or type combo, just like Eevee. I did this in my region with Dwarf. I love the design of Dwarf and its evolutions, but ultimately I would probably scrap them. Because Eevee clones really don't make sense. Because we have Eevee. Making a clone of it would take away from what makes Eevee special. Unlike Pika clones, which really don't take away from Pikachu as it's the mascot, Eevee is unique because it is the only Pokemon that can do what it does. Making more Pokemon that can just makes it less unique. There were originally going to be 5 evolutions to Dwarf, but I cut 2. One I had designed and the other just stayed as a concept. The one that I had designed is Necrabbit, which is a ghost poison type. It is inspired by wild hares, and that they just look really creepy to me. I don't know, there's just something behind those eyes that screams evil to me. Anyway, the other concept was a grass and ground type that was inspired by English Angora rabbits and haystacks. I thought these two concepts would have mixed really well together. The reason I didn't just cut the whole line is because I had already started posting the dwarf line by the time I decided to pull back on the evolutions, and it would have messed up my Instagram layout. A couple of other concepts that never came to fruition are some new forms for Meloetta that I had planned early on in the development of the Cornera region, right after I had come up with nucleotypes. Obviously, Meloetta is a very sound-based Pokemon, and nucleotypes are the origin of the sound type being discovered in Cornera, so I thought up an origin form for Meloetta that would have been Sound Fairy. After giving Meloetta a nucleotype, it could activate this form by using a new move it would learn called Origin Song. There was also another form of Meloetta, which would have been a story point where the evil team uses Bonate to corrupt Meloetta, giving it a sound dark form called the Requiem form. It would essentially be Shadow Meloetta, which you could catch and purify in the postgame. The reason these two were scrapped was the concept just felt too much in the vein of a side game, and I wanted my own original legendary Pokemon to be the focal point of the story. The Sound Dark Requiem form ultimately became the basis of Machus in the end. And those are my scrapped concepts for the Cornera region. Let me know what you think of them and which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. I am working my hardest to get the map and characters video up soon, so look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I will see you guys next time. Let's explore my Fakemon region, the Cornera region, and the cast of characters you can find within it. Hey everyone, Brandon here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the map and the characters of the Cornera region, and how the game would progress. Again, there will not be a fan game of Cornera. This is purely hypothetical. I was initially just going to have this be one video, but there is so much to cover here that I decided to split this up into a few videos. These videos will be part map explanation, part story, and part character introductions. This isn't going to be a fully realized visual novel, just a general overview of the progression of the game. There will be some voice acting and some voices you may even recognize. Also, not every Pokemon in Cornera will be featured in these videos either. If you want to see that, you can take a look at the full Cornera Dex video here. Before we get into the characters and map of the Cornera region, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. There is tons of incredible Fakemon content on this channel aside from the Cornera region, so make sure you don't miss it. Alright, so let's get started with where all Pokemon adventures begin, choosing your character. Let's meet your 3 player options. We have Avery, your average boy character, who is also the first canonically blonde boy character, Kaya, the girl character, who is canonically Native American, and her outfit is inspired by Native American clothing, and lastly we have Sky. They are canonically black and non-binary, and they would be referred to using they/them pronouns throughout the game. All player characters would be customizable and would have access to any clothing option, regardless of gender. After picking your character, you would of course begin your journey in the starting town. This is Hearthtown. It is based on Loveland, Colorado, a town that fully leans into the brand of love. Unlike most starting towns, I decided to put it at the top of the map, right next to the Pokemon League. I imagine your character has always had an aspiration to beat the Pokemon League with it being so close. But in Hearthtown is where the player would meet the 2 professors of the region. Hey there, I'm Professor Spruce. I study the DNA of Pokemon.
And I'm Professor Aspen, or I guess I should say Spruce. Still getting used to being married to this handsome lug. I'm a Pokemon paleontologist.
After introducing themselves, they would let you pick your starter Pokemon. Immediately after leaving your hometown, starter in tow, you encounter a blonde hipster-looking kid.
Hey, my name is Zach. You just got your starter Pokemon? Ah, that's so mainstream of you. I only use Pokemon that aren't so popular. Only I can really appreciate those underused Pokemon. Someone like you just wouldn't get it. Maybe you could see if I taught you a lesson with my Pokemon.
Zachary would start with a Pansage, Panseer, or Panpour depending on which starter you chose, with him having the type advantage. And he will also have a Snubbull.
You only won because those stupid starters have higher base stats. Whatever, I'll see you later, Normie.
After your battle with Zachary, you would continue down Route 1 through Almarth Woods, maybe picking up a Mouseblode, Peplark, O-Beetle, or Cuddlepillar along the way to Alma City. This city is inspired by Fort Collins, Colorado. Alma City is home to the first Pokemon gym in the Cornera League. This gym is a bit special because it has 2 gym leaders.
Hey there, I'm Vidalia, and I'll show you just how cute and cuddly Pokemon can be.
And I'm her brother, Beckett. I like how creepy and crawly bug types can be. Just watch how I use their wicked power.
In this gym, you would pick one of 2 paths to get to the gym leaders. One pink and super kawaii, with a couple trainers having both bug and fairy type Pokemon. The other dark and edgy, with trainers having both bug and dark type Pokemon. The paths would be your standard simple first gym design like Brock, Rourke, or Roxanne. Man, those rock type gym leaders really like their simple gyms, huh? Anyway, if you choose the Vidalia path, her team would be Snugloon, a Doropia, and a Snom. And if you chose the Beckett path, his team would be Clocoon, Umbrosph, and a Sizzlipede. If you picked up a Peplark or Mouseblode, then these battles should be a cinch. Once you defeat either one of them, you will earn yourself the Contrary Badge. After earning your first badge, you would make your way down to your first big city in the Cornera region, Altopolis, home to a gym you aren't quite ready for yet, and Bones Ridge, where you can pick up some fossils to be restored at a later point. Altopolis is majorly inspired by Denver, Colorado, and Bones Ridge is inspired by the iconic Colorado Fossil Ridge, a high ridge in the Gunnison National Forest with many exposed Paleozoic sea fossils. The Fossil Ridge and dinosaurs in general are a huge part of Colorado's public image, so I definitely wanted to have an area to reference this. After doing some exploring of the city, maybe customizing your character a bit, or just replenishing your item supply, you make your way down to Route 3. But while on your trek, you overhear a couple of cowboy-clad trainers arguing.
No, you loony! It's my turn to use the shadow Pokemon the boss gave us.
Nuh-uh! You used it on the last Yellow Belly and took their Peplark, member?
Wait, what are you looking at, you little varmint? Hey, why don't we battle this namby-pamby? And whoever beats him worse gets to use the shadow Pokemon next.
Alright, deal.
Welcome to your first encounter with the Root and Tootinous evil team of the Cornera region, Team Echo. They primarily use Dark, Rock, and Sound type Pokemon. Here is a breakdown of the Sound type's strengths and weaknesses. And as you heard before, they have access to Shadow Pokemon, but we'll talk more about that later. These two would use a Peplark, Dwebble, and Whismur for this fight. After defeating them, you will enter Gardana Springs, which is inspired by Colorado Springs, Colorado, and the Garden of the Gods Park you can find there. There is Route 18 to the west, where you can pick up some Rock and Ground type Pokemon such as Geodude, Duskbeck, Cornera Meowth, Cornera Squavent, and Babex if you'd like. But you can't journey any further west as there has been a cave-in inside the Gildan Cavern that some miners are trying to clear up, so you'll have to wait till later. While in Gardana Springs, you will meet the professors again and tell them of your encounter with Team Echo. Oh, Team Echo. Those hooligans are always stirring up trouble and stealing trainers' Pokemon. Be wary of them, Brandon. You may have defeated them this time, but their boss is not to be trifled with.
On a lighter note, some of my fellow fossil researchers have a lab here in which you can revive any fossil you may have discovered at Bones Ridge.
Upon heading to revive said fossils, Professor Aspen will teach you about nucleotypes, the gimmick of this region that Professor Aspen and Spruce discovered through their combined research. If you want more details on nucleotypes, check out this video here. Thanks to nucleotypes though, the fossils you revive will no longer have that rock typing, except in cases like Aerodactyl, whose typing was originally part rock. While there, you would also run into a scientist with a very serious expression.
Oh, hello there. What might a trainer like you be doing here? Oh, Professor Aspen told you to come here? She thinks she's so much better than me just because she discovered nucleotypes. Whatever. I have an invention that will really shake up the world. Oh, sorry, rambling again. I'll be on my way. Have a nice day.
After that little excursion, you will make your way across routes 4 and 5, in which you can pick up some water types such as Python, Magikarp, or Psyduck. Or you could even find the regional Pika clone Denkibi along the way. Before you enter the next town, you are stopped by Zachary.
What's up, Normie? Ready for another battle? I trained my Pokemon up, so I'll definitely win.
This time, Zachary will have evolved his Elemental Monkey, which has fairly high stats for this early on in the game and may present a challenge. He will also have the Snubbull from before, but also a Smeargle and an Illumise.
Ugh! Why is it so hard to win with these Pokemon? What am I doing wrong?
After beating Zachary, you will arrive at Zoot City, which is inspired primarily by Boulder, Colorado, but also Albuquerque, New Mexico, which are major locations for hot air ballooning, with Albuquerque being home to the International Hot Air Balloon Festival. Zoot City is where you will face the second gym, which would be flying type. There would be a series of hot air balloons you would ride from location to location, similar to Marlin's gym in Unova with the lily pads. Once you make your way through, you will reach this gym's leader, Sora.
Hey there, I'm Sora. I love hot air balloons, the colors, the freedom of being in the air. I just love all of it. My partner Drifloom and I have faced many battles together, so this battle will be no different than the rest.
Sora's team would be Cornera and Murkrow, Twilark, and of course, Cornera and Drifblim. You could use any of the rock types you may have picked up on Route 18, or a Denkibi to help with this battle. After defeating him, you would earn yourself the Flight Badge. With your second badge in hand, you would then head up Route 6, which is where you'll find the de facto Pokemon Ranch and Pokemon Daycare. Here, you can find many Grass-type Pokemon such as Sunkern, Skiddo, Cornera and Murkrow, and Cornera and Gossifleur. But you'll also find Team Echo again, this time trying to steal eggs from the daycare.
That trainer didn't want these anyway, so why not just give them to us?
No, I know what you do to Pokemon and it's sick. Go away.
Well, looks like this little lady ain't gonna cooperate, so we're just gonna have to... you again?
Calm down, my little buckaroos. I can handle this one.
Randy!
Now, dadgummit, I told you to call me Randall. Anyway, hey kid, the name's Randall the Vandal. I heard you beat down my compatriots here. We here on Team Echo love how lawless and free this region used to be, and want to uphold that legacy. We're like a family, so beating my team members, well, now that there's grounds for a whooping. So best prepare yourself, cause here I come. Randall's team would be a bit of a step up in difficulty, with him having 4 pretty tough Pokemon for this stage in the game. Cornera Persian, Boltiny, Cornera Farfetch'd, and the first Shadow Pokemon of the game, Loudred. You won't be able to catch Shadow Pokemon until the post-game, so for now they will serve as vicious opponents. Well, if I ain't plumb shocked, you beat me. That was a hog's killing time there, partner. Hope to see you again. For now, let's make like a Dawn fan and roll out. Yeehaw! And with that, we have reached the end of the first video on the characters, map, and game progression of the Cornera region. Let me know your thoughts so far. I will be uploading the next couple videos over the next couple weeks, so be on the lookout. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I will see you guys next time. Let's explore more of my Fakemon region, the Cornera region, and the cast of characters you can find within it. Hey everyone, Brandon here, and welcome back to another video on the map and characters of the Cornera region. If you missed the last video, make sure to go back and check that out before you watch this one so you can get up to speed on what's going on so far. Before we continue our journey through the Cornera region, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. Alright, where we last left off, we had just defeated Randall the Vandal of Team Echo. Now with your first victory over the evil team's leader, you head north to River's Cross, a little boat station that will take you up the main river that flows across the Cornera region. In said boat, you will journey northwest to the other boat station, River's End, which connects to our next major city, Seabrine Shores, and the gym held there. Seabrine Shores is inspired by the capital of Utah, Salt Lake City, and the lake next to it is of course inspired by the Great Salt Lake. In the Seabrine Shores gym, you would use your fishing rod to pull up a series of Pokemon that you would then turn in to answer questions asked by fishermen blocking the doors to the next room. I.e., you would turn in a Magikarp if the fisherman asked, what Pokemon evolves into Gyarados? This gym would be both a test of your patience and your Pokemon knowledge. Anyway, at the end you would reach the gym leader, Marshawn.
Hello, Challenger! Could I take a moment to preach the word of our Lord Arceus? No? Well, I suppose you're here for a gym battle after all. My name is Marshawn, and I will show you how my faith flows like my water-type Pokemon.
Marshawn, clearly based on Mormons, but also fishermen, would have a team consisting of Lantern, Whiscash, and his ace would be Amatarishu. After defeating him, you would receive the Fish Badge. You then would make your way south down Route 7 and take a detour to Route 8, as a group of Cornera and Slowpoke are blocking the way to Canyon Town. Route 7 is inspired by the Monument Valley in Utah and Arizona. On both Route 7 and 8, you would be able to encounter ground types, and also other Pokemon like Fantasy, Dwarf, and even a static Necromane encounter at night. At the end of Route 8 is the Dunes Resort, which is based on the many resorts you can find around Colorado, but also the Desert Resort from Unova. Since these are both US-based regions, I thought it would be fun to reference that here. After arriving at the resort, you would then see Zachary seemingly looking for something.
Oh, hey there, Normie. I heard there's a secret spot in the resort that is haunted and has tons of rare, underused ghost-type Pokemon. If you find any, let me know.
You can indeed find a haunted section of the resort, which has Pokemon like Mimikyu, Solfedge, Wofi, and Shuppet. After this brief detour, you can finally make your way to Canyon Town, which is inspired by Flagstaff, Arizona. Before you enter though, Zachary will catch up with you and ask for a battle. But before it can commence, you will once again encounter Team Echo, who are trying to mess with those Slowpoke and get them out of the way, even turning one into a Shadow Pokemon before you in Zachary's very eyes.
What'd they do to that Pokemon? That's totally messed up. Let's battle these freaks.
You would team up with Zachary and battle the Team Echo grunts, with one of them using that Shadow Slowpoke they just created.
We'll show you next time, kid. The power of Bonate's on our side.
After defeating the grunts, the Slowpoke would disperse, allowing you to enter Canyon Town. In Canyon Town, you would once again be approached by the professors and tell them about your encounter and how they mentioned Bonate. Bonate, huh? Well, that doesn't spell good news. Bonate and Sohale have been dormant for a long time. How could it be on Team Echo's side?
Well, it's through Sahale's radiance that we are able to make nucleotypes. Could Team Echo be doing the same thing with Bonate's darkness? That is a deeply troubling thought.
Indeed. Let's hope it isn't true. Be careful if you encounter them again, and if you can, try to stop whatever it is they might be planning. Make sure to do some research of your own on Bonate and Sohale while you're here. Canyon Town has a great library. With that foreboding thought now in your mind, you would head to the library to learn the backstory of the legends of this region, which, if you don't know them, check out this video here to learn more. After that, you would gather supplies in Canyon Town before heading into the Suncrest Canyon, which is of course inspired by the world-famous Grand Canyon, but it is also inspired by the Painted Desert of New Mexico. Here, you will of course find more ground types, but also some rock and fire types like Cornera and Farfetch'd, Salanda and Salava, Ponyta and Rapidash, Cornera and Meowth in Persian, Cornera and Ice-Q, Dwebble and Crustle, and Rockruff and Lycanroc. You will make your way down Route 9. If you want to, you can head down Route 10 to Mist Point, but there really isn't much to see at this point in the game, and it's just a side town at the moment. Mist Point is inspired by Roswell, New Mexico, which is famous for its alleged 1947 UFO crash, which spurred an alien craze in the town and across the US. You would be able to find Pokemon like Elgyem, Beldum, Solrock, and Lunatone around this area. Anyway, continuing down Route 11 will take you to the Regier Oasis. The Regier Oasis is inspired by Phoenix, Arizona. This town has within it a fire-type gym. The gym's theme would be a spa. You would have to work your way through rooms filled with typical spa things, like mud baths that trainers could pop out of, massage rooms in which you would fluster both the masseuse and the person getting massaged who would double battle you, and so on. After making your way through a series of awkward encounters, you would reach Brando. Well, hello. I hope you're feeling relaxed after enjoying what my spa has to offer. No? Well, maybe a sauna is in order. I'm sure my fire-type Pokemon could help arrange that. Maybe a fiery gym battle would help warm them up. Brando's team would consist of Pyrat, Rapidash, and Salava. If you picked up any of the many ground types along the way here, this should be pretty easy for you. Upon defeating Brando, you would receive the Melt Badge. While leaving the Regier Oasis gym, you would see a rather glamorous looking woman walking out as well, who is suddenly swarmed by people with cameras, and you can hear people screaming, "Kamaria, I love your work!" When you ask anyone in the crowd about it, they will respond, "You don't know who that is? That's Kamaria. She's one of the most famous fashion designers out there. She has designed for all the champions across many different regions. Diantha, Cynthia, Leon, Steven, they have all worn her work." After the commotion settles, you can leave the Regier Oasis. You could head west down Route 13 and reach the ruins of Ivory Sand, but once again, there really isn't anything to see at this moment. So we will head east to Route 12 and into Dead Man's Pass. This place would contain more ghost types like Cornera and Yamask and Minorigus, Cornera and Sableye and Tamai, Duskull and Dusclops, and Ghastly and Haunter. And within the cave portion, there will be more rock, dark, and sound types. At the end of this cave, Zachary will want to battle you once again.
My team has changed a lot since we last battled. I'll win for sure this time.
This time he'll have his Simi, a now evolved Granbull, a now evolved Striegel, and a Durant.
Why can't I win? Why do you always beat me with those totally mainstream Pokemon? Is there something wrong with these Pokemon? Or is it just me? Am I just that weak?
After defeating him once again, he will run out of the cave. Following him will land you in Ampere City, the biggest city in Cornera and a technological powerhouse. It will feel as if you step through a portal into the future. This city is based on Telluride, Colorado, which is where the legendary scientist Nikola Tesla helped to build the world's first commercial alternating current power plant. While Telluride isn't a futuristic city, this was just a fun way of playing into Tesla's contribution to the world. If it wasn't obvious enough, Ampere City has an electric type gym you can challenge. In this gym, you would be changing the direction of an electrical electrical current to complete a circuit that would open the door to the gym leader Malachi.
Hello there, Challenger. I am Malachi. My great-great-grandfather helped bring electricity to the Cornera region long ago. With my Pokemon by my side, I'll show you what generations of electric power can do.
Malachi, who is a reference to Nikola Tesla himself, but also one of my favorite gym leaders, Watson, would have a team consisting of Jolteon, Denkirai, and would be the first trainer to have a Genos Pokemon, with Genos Sock as his ace. This could present a pretty big challenge, but once again, if you have one of the many ground types available at this point, you should be okay. Get used to important trainers having Genos Pokemon, because from now on, most of them will. After defeating Malachi, you would receive the Spark Badge. Right after leaving the gym, you notice some Team Echo Grunts, Randall, and that scientist you met in Gardana Springs? They seem to be heading up to the power plant north of Ampere City. This probably means trouble, so you had to check it out. Once you arrive at the power plant and make your way through it, finding some Electric-type Pokemon along the way, you see the Team Echo Grunts and that scientist with some machine hooked up to the power plant, and it looks like it's sapping energy from it.
Oh, hello there. We meet again. I apologize. I realize I didn't properly introduce myself before. My name is Evelyn, and I am the head scientist and admin of Team Echo. I am the first to discover shadow Pokemon, and I created this machine that can make and control them. Don't get in the way of my scientific claim to fame and glory, or you'll be sorry.
Evelyn's team would be a bit different from the other Team Echo members. She would have a Corneran Magneton, Coatitan, Iglop, and a Shadow Matang. After defeating her, you would immediately be confronted by Randall. Well there, you little varmint. You trying to get in our way again? Well, you know I can't let that happen. Evelyn, finish up while I handle this bad egg. Randall's team now consists of Corneran Persian, Volterror, Spurfetch'd, and his Shadow Loudred. After beating him, it would be too late, and Evelyn will have got what she needs and have fled. And Randall will do the same. You can now make your way east to the Gilded Cavern, which would have many of the same Pokemon you've already encountered, but evolved. Deep in the caves, you can find a static Genos Draudigon, which is the only Genos form you can find in the wild. From here, you have a couple options, actually. You can either head northeast back up to Altopolis to challenge the gym there, or you can head to Vulcan Springs and challenge that gym. For the sake of this video, we'll head up to Altopolis first. Altopolis is home to a Sound-type gym, but before you head in, you once again see a sizable crowd and flashing lights gathering around the gym. I love you, Kamaria!
Please notice me, Kamaria-senpai!
You see Kamaria getting out of a limo, and she notices you trying to get into the gym.
Hello there, you must be a trainer. You're trying to challenge this gym, correct? I apologize for the blockage. I was just heading inside to hear Aria play. She is a good friend of mine and I love her music. I'll clear the way for you. Go ahead and show Aria what you got. I'll be watching.
You'll now head into the gym, which doubles as a concert hall. You would start backstage and fight different pairs of trainers holding different instruments. After defeating each pair, you would hear that the gym theme would have their instruments added in, until you would complete the orchestra and make your way to the stage to battle the gym's leader, Aria.
Well done. You have brought together my orchestra that will now score our battle. My name is Arya, and if you couldn't tell, I'm a master of sound-type Pokemon. Prepare yourself for the most symphonic battle you have ever faced.
Arya's team would be Geistro, Symphion, Exploud, and her ace would be Genos Audino. Upon defeating her, you would receive the Symphony Badge. With your 6th gym badge in hand, this is where we'll leave off for now. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. The next video in this series will be the finale of the Cornera region as a whole, so make sure you don't miss it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I will see you guys next time. The time has finally come to finish our journey through my Fakemon region, the Cornera region. So let's get to it. Hey everyone, Brandon here, and welcome to the climactic finale of the Cornera region series. If you missed the past 2 videos covering the maps, characters, and story of the Cornera region, make sure to go check those out before watching this video. Before we finish our journey through the Cornera region, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos on the channel. There is tons of Fakemon content on this channel aside from this series, so make sure to check it all out. Anyway, on to the finale. So now that we've defeated the 6th gym leader Arya, we will make our way back through the Gilded Cavern and down Route 16 to Vulcan Springs. On Route 16, you can find some fighting types like Chop, Sock, Throw and Kick, Jabex, and Mankey and Primeape. Vulcan Springs is inspired by Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and the many hot springs you can find there. There's a rock-type gym in this city that you will of course challenge. This gym would be a paleontological dig site, where you would uncover fossils, trainers hiding in the dirt, and different rooms that will eventually lead you to the gym leader, Gemma.
Welcome to the Vulcan Springs Gym. gym. I'm Gemma. Nice to meet you. Work hard and be as strong as rock-type Pokemon. That's my awesome older brother Rourke's motto, and I try to follow it as well. I moved to Cornera to toughen up my Pokemon, so let's battle so I can see your toughness.
Like she said, Gemma is the sister of the Rock-type gym leader from Sinnoh, Rourke. And this of course means she is also the daughter of Steel-type gym leader Byron. Her team would consist of Corneran Ice-Q, Archeops, Amalgalith, and her ace would be Genos Druddigon. If you picked up a fighting or ground type along your journey, that will definitely help in this fight. After defeating Gemma, you would receive the Fossil Badge. Right after leaving the gym, you would feel a huge rumbling, seemingly coming from Dawn Point, the volcano of the region. While heading down Route 17, you would encounter several Team Echo grunts trying to block your path, all of them hooting and hollering about how their plan will succeed soon. Once you reach the Shrine of the Dawn, you would encounter Randall and Evelyn, who have that machine again. Well, howdy there, partner. It's about time you got here, just in time to see my plan come to fruition. Thanks to old Evelyn here and her fancy doodad, we are going to summon Sohale and use Bonate's dark power to turn it into a shadow Pokemon. We will be able to corrupt every Pokemon in Cornera for us to use, and turn this region back into a lawless, dark, wild land with no rules but survival of the fittest. As you go to battle Randall once again, Evelyn finishes activating the machine. Sohale emerges from the molten lava of Dawn Point and begins to charge Evelyn and Randall, but a black, shadowy mist expels from the machine and takes hold of Sohale. The mist begins corrupting Sohale, giving it a dark aura, and it kneels before Randall. Yes, the power of a legendary Pokemon is mine. Now let's plunge this region into dark... Huh? Now what in tarnation is that sound? Just as it looked like all hope was lost, Bonate explodes out of the depths of the Gilded Cavern and appears before you. It looks like it's trying to stop Randall and Sohale by joining you to fight them. Wait, what? I thought you were on our side. Whatever, your power is mine anyway. I'll just use Sohale here to defeat you like it did before. Now, for this final battle with Team Echo, Randall's team would consist of Purstrike, Bolterror, Spurfetch'd, and of course, Shadow Sohale. Upon defeating Randall, Bonate would drain the shadow energy from Sohale, returning it to normal. Randall and Evelyn would flee and abandon their machine. Bonate approaches you and speaks.
Thank you, young one. Those villains wish to use my power of darkness to corrupt all Pokemon, but I could not allow that. I do not wish harm upon this region or its people. Light and shadow are meant to work in tandem with each other. There cannot be one without the other. It is a balance, which is something that I have learned in my time of solitude. I have faith that you can help cure this region of my mistakes.
Bonate would return to the Gilded Cavern and Sohale would return to Dawn Point, where you can optionally go catch them after beating the 8th gym. Speaking of, with that major crisis out of the way, we have a gym challenge to finish. After making your way back through the Gilded Cavern, you can head north to Route 19. This is where you can catch many ice types like Corneran Stonejourner, Isekyle and Arctile, Corneran Seviper, and Corneran Dedenne and Dependre. At the end of Route 19, you will reach Glacier City, which is based on the many ski towns of Colorado, with Breckenridge serving as its main inspiration. Glacier City is home to the final gym, which is of course an ice-type gym. You would snowboard down different slopes and go up different ski lifts until you reach this gym's leader, Holly.
Hey, my name is Holly. I used to be an all-star Poke-Olympic athlete, but now I run the Glacier Gym. I've won so many battles and medals at this point that it's all become boring to me. Could you give me a battle worth remembering?
Holly's team would be Corneran Seviper, Fenrir, Corneran Stonejourner, Genos Kick, and her ace would be Snowliath. Snowliath being her ace is actually a reference to the computer game Ski Free, in which there was an abominable snowman that would attack you. After beating Holly, you would earn the Snow Badge, which is actually just one of Holly's medals that she repurposed into a badge. You can now head north to enter the Icy Victory Road. I imagine this Victory Road to be a mix between Kanto and Alola's Victory Roads, an icy-themed area with many puzzles to figure out and hard trainers to face. At the end of it all, you would find Zachary, who is ready for one final battle.
After our last battle, I did some reevaluation. I just realized my motives were all wrong. I shouldn't use Pokemon just because they aren't mainstream. I should use them because they aren't as used and deserve to be shown the same respect as those that are. Regardless of the outcome of this battle, I'll show you that these Pokemon deserve your attention.
Zachary's team would now consist of his Simi, Striegel, Durant, Behem, Swalot, and his ace would be his now evolved Grand Brawl.
Well, that was quite the battle. I hope from now on I can shine a light on these Pokemon and show everyone that you can battle with Pokemon no matter how popular they are. See you later, friend.
With that done, you will have finally arrived at Grand Butte. This is where you will take on the Elite Four and the champion. Grand Butte is inspired by Cliff Palace, found in Mesa Verde National Park, which is a structure built by ancient Puebloans. I just thought, what better to make your final destination of this journey than something that looked grand and ancient. Anyway, let's move on to the Elite Four. This would be a traditional Elite Four, no tournament or anything. So, our first member of the Elite Four would be Lilith.
Huh, looks like you made it here, finally. I've heard tell of a young prodigy making their way through the league, and even managing to tame Bonate. You don't deserve such umbral power. My name is Lilith, and I'll show you what true darkness looks like.
Lilith is a dark type specialist, and they are obviously inspired by gods. Their team would be Weavile, Larclips, Scrafty, Gothitelle, I know it's not a dark type, but I had to, and their ace would be Bolterror. After defeating Lilith, you would make your way to the next Elite Four member, Celeste.
Oh, hello there, young one. My name is Celeste. In my old age, I have discovered the strength and serenity of fighting-type Pokemon. Don't let my old age and quiet demeanor fool you. I'm an Elite Four member for a reason. Now, let's battle.
Like she said, Celeste is a fighting type specialist. Her team would consist of Medicham,
Jabex,
Hariyama, Mienshao, and her ace would be Genos Throw. And if you've been paying attention, that means all three members of the Chop line have had their Genos forms used by important trainers. Anyway, moving on, you would make your way to the third Elite Four member, which is Byron, the Canalave City gym leader? What's he doing here?
Hey there, my name is Byron. I used to be the gym leader in the Sinnoh region, but then my kiddo Gemma decided to move here to Cornera. I came to visit and the Cornera League had a vacant spot, so they asked and I accepted. I get to challenge strong trainers and be near my daughter. It's great. Anyway, enough of my backstory. Let's battle.
Byron's design has changed a bit and is now more reflective of Morterodon, who would be the first member of his team. The rest of his team would be Magnafluid, Minorigus, Steelix, and of course he would still have his ace of Bastiodon, who he loves so much. For our last Elite Four member, we have Dova.
Welcome, young trainer. I congratulate you on making it this far to me, Dova, the final member of the Elite Four. Whether this battle ends in victory or defeat for you, know that me and my Pokemon will be taking in every minute of it, experiencing your essence as a trainer. Now, let's see what you've got.
Dova is inspired by Native American shamans and healers, and as such is a grass-type specialist, but with some unique Pokemon in there to match his inspiration. His team would be Corneran Ursaring, Corneran Decidueye, Xatu, Ludicolo, and his ace would be Synthesis. With the Elite Four defeated, it's time to move on to your final challenge, the champion. But who is the champion of the Cornera region? Well, let's find out.
Well, 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 looks like you actually made it. I haven't seen a trainer reach this point in a long time. I had a feeling when I met you in Altopolis, you reach here. Let me offer you a warm welcome to my humble abode. I, Kamaria, am the Pokemon world's top fashion designer. I design clothes fit for a champion, as I am one myself. I use my battles as inspiration, but I haven't had much lately. Let's see if this final battle can spark something new.
Yes, Kamaria, who you met briefly throughout your journey, is this region's champion. Her name means Moonlight, which is to match the legends of this region, as Moonlight is a reflection of sunlight that is cast onto the world during the darkness of night, showing that balance that Bonate spoke of. Anyway, I wanted to take inspiration from champions like Leon and Cynthia for her, and give her a team that was a mix of different types and very powerful, but also some that are very elegant and beautiful like she is. With that said, her team would be Milotic, Sasquake, Bulgur, Gengar, Genos Ninetales, and her ace would be Dragariff. Once you defeat Kamaria, you would of course head to the Hall of Fame and have your victory recorded, becoming the new champion of Cornera. And that's the end of our journey in the Cornera region. Well, there would be a post-game where you can catch all the Shadow Pokemon, the Gift and Ruin trios, and even travel to the Ore region to battle some familiar faces. But as far as the Cornera region series goes, this is the last one. I appreciate every one of you who has joined me on this journey through creating and showing off this region. I am very excited to continue making Fakemon regions, and my next one is in development. But don't expect it anytime soon. There's still a lot of work to do on it. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos on this channel. I do tons of Fakemon and other Pokemon content on this channel, so there's lots to see here besides the Cornera series. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and with that, I will see you guys next time.